Welcome to the ultimate guide to getting you home, the Homebuyers Webinar. Your host, the Treasure Valley Dave team, with Dave Edwards and special guest Darren Ramp, along with resident expert Maureen Alstead. Be sure to get your own free workbooks, Steps to Home Ownership. Now let's get started helping you get home. Hey, Dave Edwards, Treasure Valley Dave here, and welcome to our webinar. This is going to be a great resource for you to get your goal accomplished, which is to become a homeowner in your next house. It's a very, very worthy goal, and we're all here to help you get there. So we have 6 different steps in our webinar, and each one of them is vitally important. And for each one of them, we have this great little booklet put together that goes through, has places for you to jot down your questions, your ideas, little checklists to make sure that as you're going through things that you don't miss anything. Also, we have lists in there to kind of like get your mind going on different options that you might want in your house and things like that. So it's pretty comprehensive. So in step 1, we're going to go through decide to buy. Do you really need to buy? Do you really need to move? And in step 2, we're going to be talking about questions to ask when interviewing your real estate agent. That's going to be hugely important. Number 3, financial situation worksheet. And this is your whole pre-approval process and things like that. And when it comes to finances for your home, we have a special guest star on this one. A star. He's a special guest because he's really knowledgeable. He's a star on my book. Then we go to step 4, things to consider about your next home. And this is based upon a lot of experience. And we also have a special guest star on this one that is going to be talking about some of the real life experiences and what works and what doesn't. And then to step 5, the process. This is, there's so many spinning wheels, so many balls in the air that go on. And we're going to talk about those things that really impact you, things that you need to know about, things that you're going to be involved with. There's going to be a whole bunch more behind the scenes stuff that you'll never even know. But just know that we're here to make sure that everything gets done. And then we're going to wrap up with number 6. Number 6 is great. It's after you've closed, you're a homeowner. Now what? Well, gosh, there's a lot of things involved with being a homeowner. And sometimes you just need some help. And we're here to help you with that. So we're going to get you covered. So why is all this important? Well, it's important if you're, say, renting now, or you're living someplace and you don't own your own home. Then you're getting, every day you're getting further and further behind the 8 ball. It's going to be harder and harder in the future to buy a house, particularly with all this inflation going on. And waiting is just going to make it harder and harder still. So the best thing to do is to get into a house, even though it's not a perfect house at this point. At least you're getting on that appreciation escalator. So it'll be easier to get into that perfect house. You're just like taking one step at a time to get to the ultimate goal. And then the thing is, once you get to the ultimate goal, then your goals change. And it's kind of funny how that works. But to get started is the most important thing. The longest journey starts with the first step, right? Well, that's what we're going to do here today. So you're going to get from this a bunch of information. And I'd like you to be clear by the end of this. I'd like you to be clear on what you know. And then also to know enough to ask the right questions to get the answers that you need so we can get this big goal accomplished together. And that's really kind of what we're all about, is exposing you to what's all the different steps that go on so you can get those questions formulated, so it takes the stress out of it. When you know the answers, when you've got someone that you trust by your side, it takes so much of the stress out. Not to say there's not going to be hiccups and stuff along the way, but to have this open line of communication with all these people on your side to get the goal accomplished, it's really going to make things a whole lot easier. So that's what I hope that you get out of by the end of this webinar, is that clarity on what you know and enough information to know what you don't know. So why do I do this? Well, because when we moved up here, we needed a place to buy. We wanted to have our own home. And the process that we went through, it was very pleasant. Our agent was fantastic, but we didn't go through any of these steps that we're going to go through in this webinar. And looking back on it, if I'd had this information, it could have been a whole lot faster process. We could have been more clear on what we wanted. To be honest, we looked at about 80 houses, and we started at this end of the spectrum, and we ended up over here. And we were very happy with the one that we got. But it was this big process. We wasted our agents' time, we wasted our time, and we might have missed some opportunities as well. So that's one of the reasons I do this. Also, I just like helping people find a better quality of life. And maybe that's getting into your first home, which is not your dream home, but it's the home that's going to work for you as your first home. And also for helping people get to the right size home, whether that's expanding family or they need a smaller place now, depending on where you are in life. But having that better quality of life, less things to worry about, less chores to do because you've simplified or whatever the case. But talking with people, finding out what it is that would make them have a better quality of life and then helping them figure out how to get there, that's just so rewarding. So that's why I do this. And like I said before, by the end of this webinar, I'd like you to have clarity on what it is that you know and what you don't know, so we can help you find that better quality of life as well. So anytime throughout the process, at the end of the webinar, let us know what you thought, let us know your questions, and just know that we're here to help. So what are we going to do? Well, let's go ahead and get started now. All right, so let's get into Module 1 of Steps to Homeownership, and this is Decide to Buy. So you have your booklet downloaded, right? If not, go ahead and get that downloaded so you can go through it as I go through it and highlight anything that's really important to you, make some notes, and so let's just get started. So have your needs changed? Is now the right time to buy? Those are questions that I hear pretty frequently, and I think we probably need to get those answered. So why decide? So really, it's like, do you need to move? And if it's just something that's a passing thought and you really don't have any pressure, any motivation, as we say, to move, then maybe moving's not the right thing to do right now. But if you do have some reason, maybe it's a job transfer, or maybe your family has changed size, gotten bigger, gotten smaller, and you need a house that's going to work for you now. Maybe you're just tired of driving as far as you are to get to work every day. Those are all really good reasons to move and to buy. We have a little checklist there of some reasons that might be applicable to you. Do you need to be closer to work or school? Do you need to be in a safer area? And so this could apply to maybe you're already living in the Treasure Valley. But my guess is wherever you are in the Treasure Valley, it's probably not unsafe, but maybe you're living someplace else in another state. And that might be a very appropriate question to ask yourselves is, do I want a safer place for my family? And if that's the case, then yes, maybe moving. And I say that because that was the exact motivation that we had for moving to Idaho when we left California. It was just as easy as that. We didn't care if we came up here. We didn't really care what the house was going to be like. We just wanted to get to a safer place. Our daughter was just in high school. And well, anyway, so those are good reasons to buy a move. But maybe you have a good reason not to buy a house right now. And there are some. We have some here listed. Maybe you're only going to be here for a short time. Maybe it's for like a job transfer, and you're just here TDY, as it were, just for 12 months or so. Then it might not make sense. Maybe there's some life changes going on. Maybe someone in your close family just got diagnosed with some disease, and you don't know where that's going to take your family going down the road. Can't afford what you need. There's a difference between can't afford what you need and can't afford what you want. When we moved up here, we couldn't afford what we wanted, but we could afford what we needed. And the main thing there was a safer place. And maybe you've just gone through a bankruptcy, or had some other thing hit your credit standing, and you need to work on that. And maybe you're saving up for a down payment as also part of the financial aspect, which we'll talk about there in Module 3. But so those are good reasons not to buy. But you know what? Have you noticed something about all those is they're all temporary reasons, because those things that are happening there, they're all going to pass somehow. And then it'll be time to make a decision. So even if now isn't the right time to buy and to move, starting the planning process, at least thinking about it, is a fantastic thing to do right now. Also, and if it looks like you're going to be moving in the next 12 to 2 years, even, not 12 years, 12 months to 2 years, getting in touch with, obviously, real estate agent is going to be hugely important, but also with a lender, because a lender can help you figure out, are there tweaks now that you can make to make your buying process when it comes to financing, that you'll be in a better position. I hear this pretty frequently: is now a good time to buy with this crazy market? Absolutely yes. And there's going to be several reasons for that. And we'll go through some of those as we go through the course. But one of them is that prices of houses always go up. And that's over a given period of time. Like every 10 years from 63 to 2023, it goes up about, on average, 60% every decade. So that's about 6% a year. And I don't know if you noticed or not, but we have record high inflation, and that's bound to push housing prices up even more and more. And then when you're talking about someplace like the Treasure Valley, then we also have that strong demand. And I know that builders are building more and more houses, but existing homes, people aren't moving out right now. So our inventory is still rather low. Low inventory, steady or high demand means prices are going to be certainly not falling, certainly not crashing like some of those people on the internet would like you to believe. So who do you talk to if you're trying to figure out, should this be the time for you to start the process of considering to move or to buy? Obviously, talk with your family. I don't think you go wrong with getting some input from other people that, well, I'm just thinking of in my family, it's like, yep, that's a great idea, but have you thought about this? So sometimes I have thought about it, sometimes I haven't. Trusted friends, someone that has gone through the process. There are some of those relatives out there, some of those friends that will, it's like crabs in a bucket. They don't want to see anybody else get ahead. So they're going to be the negative person in the room when it comes time to talk like you getting ahead. And buying your house certainly will be a great financial move to bring you and your whole family. They call it familial wealth that increases over generations because of things that you do right now. Talk to a real estate agent because, well, they're going to be a key member on your team. They have lots of insight and a lot of, they know the right questions to ask. Well, not every agent does. We're going to talk about that in Module 2, but they certainly can be a great resource for you to get the old thought process going. A trusted lender, absolutely, because a huge part of buying a house is the financing part of it. Unless you're going to go all cash, and then it might not hurt to talk with a lender to find out, do you want to go all cash? So there's some options there. Another great thing is the University of YouTube. I'm not sure if you're an alum of that or not, but I think I've graduated a couple classes there at least. You can learn about your new area. There again, if you're in another state and you're wondering, like, is the Treasure Valley the place that you want to be? Which is kind of wild because the Treasure Valley is such a diverse place. We have the more cosmopolitan downtown Boise area. We have the more rural parts as you get out further west from the Boise area. So we have bigger towns, we have smaller towns. So there's a lot to get to know, a lot to figure out what's the best fit for you. But we're going to talk about that in Module 4. And also, you can get to know your real estate agent and see if they're going to be a good fit by watching their YouTube channel and seeing if they answer the questions that in a way that makes you happy. So how does the timing work out on all of this? Well, the best time to buy would have been 10 years ago. The second best time is right now. And I suppose we had to put it on there. The third best time is when something that's going on in your life passes. So that could be you need to repair your current home. And you don't necessarily always have to do that because there may be someone that wants whatever it is you just spent thousands of dollars on fixing. They might have wanted it a completely different way and they might rip it all out. So talk to your real estate agent where you are to get some best ideas on where to put your money for fix-up expenses. Selling your current home. If you're in a normal home, your agent is going to be able to tell you about the normal time you can expect for it to be on the market. Sometimes people want to wait until their home is sold before they move to the new one or before they buy the new one. There also are ways that we can make that all happen simultaneously. We have simultaneous closes, to close on the house you're in, to close on your new house. If you're currently renting, then maybe you need to wait till the end of your lease. But then again, see, that's a numbers thing too. It's like, what's the cost of waiting? And we're going to talk about the cost of waiting once we get to module 3. That's talking with the lender. But let's say that you had a year lease and you're in month 10, only 2 more months to go. It might be worth it to break your lease and pay whatever fee it is. I'm sure it wouldn't be too much if only a couple months left to go. But it's a numbers thing. So, and also let's say you are in a lease, you might want to start looking for a house a few months beforehand because it could take a while to find a house and then it could take a while to go through the closing process. Also, sometimes the seller of the house that you want to buy, they need some time after closing to get their stuff moved out. That could take an extra 2-3 weeks. So, and if you have an extra 2 or 3 weeks still in your lease on your apartment or a rental house, then that really makes your offer looks a lot stronger. And we're going to get into talking about offer strategy as we move through this. I believe that's going to be module 4. What else could affect the timing? Maybe you need to retire. That was my case. Stuck in California until I could retire. And then I retired and, well, no, I didn't retire yet. I put our house on the market. And the first time we got under contract, something happened and it fell apart. Then the second time we went under contract, a couple days before closing, the buyer went out and bought a brand new Kirby vacuum cleaner that they couldn't afford on credit. That threw them out. So we had to put our house back on the market for the third time. And then that closed and it worked out absolutely fine. But the timing, so we weren't looking at a simultaneous close on that case, so it didn't really matter. But there can be things like that that could come up. And if that is the case, that we are going to try to do a simultaneous close, then we want to make sure that the people that are buying your house are highly qualified, highly pre-approved, and that's where your agent's going to come in and could save a lot of heartache. Maybe there's a life event. Maybe your daughter's getting married. Maybe. We're hoping. No, we're not. Well, yes, we are. We just want someone to take over payments. That's all right. Sorry, Kelly. Maybe you want to vote one last time before you move, or maybe you're just very flexible, and that's pretty nice when that happens. So are you thinking long-term when it comes to if you need to buy or sell or not? So you want to plan on being in your next home like 3 years. That's typically what it makes sense to move into your home. And it all depends. I've had someone that had bought a house and 6 months later, family changes happen and they had to sell, and they were able to sell their house for $100,000 more than what they bought it for in just 6 months. That was a crazy time, and that's not normal, but So that's why we say rule of thumb is 3 years that you want to be in your house. You're going to be building equity from paying down your loan. You can't do that until you get into the house or until you buy it. Also, you're going to be able to take advantage of the appreciation. The home value goes up with inflation. And if you don't have a house that's going to be going up with it and you're just renting, then it's going to be harder and harder as time goes on to get into that house. For instance, if house prices are going up 6% a year and you're making the same or maybe only a 2% raise, it's going to get harder and harder to come up with that extra money. You could transfer your equity to a new home later. So this first home that you're going to buy, if let's just say you're a first-time home buyer, is not the perfect house, but it's a house that works for you, then it might be a good idea to go ahead and get into that, because as you take advantage of the inflation and appreciation going up and also paying down your balance, then you could take the equity you've gained there and just transfer it over to your next house and then transfer it over to your next house. And, maybe within 10, 15 years, you're in that ideal house that you've always wanted to live in, which is funny too, because a lot of times people's ideal house of what they want to live in for the rest of their lives changes from time to time. Mine certainly has, and yours might too. Also, it's quite possible that you could live in the house for a while and then turn it into a rental house as you move to a different house. And then that could provide some income and maybe some more of that familial wealth that, make your family rich, give them something to remember you by. And are you being realistic in your expectations? So there we come back to the wants and the needs. What is it that you need? What's the big thing? What's your big why? Is it a safer neighborhood? Is it a house that fits the entire family? Things like that. So maybe we do find that 6-bedroom house so every kid can have their own room, but it doesn't have a white picket fence out front or a swimming pool in the backyard. Those things are something that could be added later. So trying to find it all at one go, obviously we're going to try, but keep your expectations in reality. And I think you'll find a house that's going to work just fine for you. What are the 10 easy steps to home ownership? So we only have 6 modules here in our program because we've kind of combined some of these together. But the first one out the gate is decide to move. And if you decide that you don't need to move, then that's absolutely fine. It's more of just a matter of when do you need to move? When do you need to buy? If it's not today, it's probably be someday and not too distant future. Finding a real estate agent, again, that's going to be module 2. And I think we're going to have a great discussion about that. And then we start to get down to the financing, identify the criteria of your home, back to the wants and needs thing. Finding your home, making an offer, more part of the process, the due diligence, and then we get you to closing, and then you get to move in and enjoy a service of a lifetime with the Treasure Valley Dave team. And that means that you're a part of the Treasure Valley Dave family. We are here to help you. We have all sorts of resources. If there's some project that you want done, we can suggest people that might come out and help you, or you could at least talk with them and get a bid or something, roofers or concrete work and things like that. We also have a community of other past clients, and they're just the nicest people and so willing to help others. And we have a closed Facebook group that you can go in there and you can interact and just for anything, whether it's you need someone to mow your yard or what's fun to do this weekend, things like that. And then don't forget our client appreciation picnic. We have that every year, and it's a great time. Lots of prizes and some great food. And if you're relocating from another state, that could be a bonus step 11. And there's there's a lot of stuff involved with it. I'm not going to tell you stories, but having the right people by your side can make it a lot more doable. So what if you are relocating from out of the area? What are some extra steps you might want to do? Obviously, attend an online webinar like this, but also research YouTube and websites to find out where you want to be. Is it Tennessee? Is it, I don't know, Treasure Valley of Idaho? And make your plans to make your in-person fact-finding trip. That's what we did when we left California. For some reason, we just thought we were meant to be in Tennessee, and we drove all the way out to Tennessee, and we stopped at every place in between as well. We got to Tennessee, and like 45 minutes later, we're just going, nope, this is not for us. It's kind of funny, huh? So it's really important to make that fact-finding trip. Talk with your friends that have been in these different places and see what they thought. Again, keep an eye on that crabs in a bucket thing, but most people really want the best for you, and they'll shoot you straight. And then talk with a real estate agent in that new area to find out, what's the market like? What can you expect to spend on a home, and what do you get for that kind of money? And then, are you making the right decision? And the only decision is a matter of when, not if. So if your decision is, no, I need to wait right now, that's absolutely fine. If your decision is, I need to wait right now, but I'd like to go ahead and start some of the planning process, talking with an agent, talking with a lender, just to kind of see what's out there. And it's so funny. People will say, oh, but I didn't want to bother you guys. Bother us. We'd rather take care of things when it's really a small little adjustment than it's like at the last minute you fall in love with the house. You go, oh, but I didn't get pre-approved yet. So yeah, go ahead and bug us. And if you're thinking that right now is the time to move, let's start talking. Let's start putting that plan together, and let's start getting all those steps put together. So speaking of steps, what is the next step? So the next step is going to be building your team. And key among that is going to be your real estate agent. So don't miss the next segment where we find out what are some of the things that you really need to be asking potential real estate agents to make sure that they're a good fit for you and can do the job that you want it done. So thanks for stopping by this module, and we'll see you on the next one. Wow, deciding to buy is such an important step. Another important step is to click below and learn about what's a buyer consultation. Or if you need to sell as well, go ahead and click below and have a real life human research and tell you what your home is worth. Now for the next vital topic, questions to ask when interviewing agents. All right, welcome to Module 2, questions to ask when interviewing agents. So this one's kind of near and dear to my heart, as you might expect. Are all agents the same? What's important to know? Well, it's important to make sure that you've downloaded your booklet on this so you can go along with it, along with me as we go through this process, make some notes, tick off the things that are really important to you. But let's get into it. So why is having the right agent important? Well, because you're building a team to get a job done. This is a project and you need a project manager. That's going to be your real estate agent. And they're going to be dealing with all sorts of other resources, inspectors, title companies, lenders. The other agent, if like say you're in another state and you have an agent there that's listing your house and you need to move up here. So your real estate agent really is a project manager with all these things going on, not to mention all the paperwork that happens. Plus, I want to make sure that your best interests are always protected. So what's your availability? You do need an agent that is available when you're available. So if like you're already up here and you need to go look at houses, you need to make sure that you have an agent that can go do that. And why do I say that? Well, like here with point number 2, are you a part-time agent or a full-time? Sure, 2 years ago when the market was going up like a rocket ship, everybody was getting their license and everyone was jumping in to become a real estate agent. And it's like, you could make some good money doing that. Well, not bad, but now times have got tough. It's been a year now that we've had interest rates going up, cooling off the market. And So there's some agents that just aren't making it as an agent for a full-time, and so they have, another job as well. So I say all that to say this, it's like if their full-time job doesn't give them the time to go show you houses when you're available, it might not be a good fit. More on the part-time versus full-time, I was blown away. I put together these numbers for you because I want you to have an accurate picture that not all real estate agents are the same. And so let's just take a look at this. So of all the agents who have an active license in Idaho, there's 12,506. So agents in the Treasure Valley area who have an active license, that's 8,152. So there's over 8,000 agents in the Treasure Valley. That's the Boise to Nampa to, Fruitland, Mountain Home area. So that's 8,200, almost 8,200 agents in the Treasure Valley. So of those, 3,149 agents have done no business at all this year. So that means there's 5,003 agents in the Treasure Valley that have done some business so far in the Treasure Valley with real estate. So that still seems like a pretty big number. But this next step is, the rubber hitting the road. So that 5,003 agents that have a license that it did some business in the Treasure Valley, 4,693 are averaging less than 2 deals per month. So that means that they're not out in the market. They're kind of like going by the seat of the pants. They're not really up on everything because they're just not doing that much business. So the people that are doing the business, there's 310 agents in the Treasure Valley that are doing 2 or more transactions a month. And those are the people that they know what's going on. They're out there. They know what sellers are thinking. They know what buyers are asking. They are taking this as a full-time job and, putting some effort to it to make it really work. It's their business. And that's the category that we fall into. We're part of that 310. So, not all agents are created equal. There's 12,506 agents that could sell you a house in Idaho, and there's only like 310 that really could represent your best interest and protect, your assets, your earnest money, and your time, and things like that. So, just wanted you to know that. I thought it was pretty wild. A great question to ask is, how long have you been a real estate agent? And now, if someone has like 20, 30 years, good for them. If someone has like a month, good for them. We all have to start somewhere, right? But even though someone is a newer agent, it doesn't necessarily mean that they aren't taking this seriously. So you might ask them, well, how many homes have you helped buyers close in this past year? That's question number 4. So maybe they've only got 3 or 4 in the last year because they're brand new and they're going through the training and they're observing and being coached by their broker. So being a newer agent, like I say, is not necessarily a bad thing. It depends on, are they taking this seriously as their new career, or is this a part-time endeavor and they're going to be part of that multiple thousands of other agents that don't do a whole lot? Question number 5 is really big too. Do you work independently or with a team? So if you are a newer agent and you're on a team, that's fantastic. Why is that? Because on a team, there's this team atmosphere. There's other agents, and then there's the team lead and the team management that can help that agent with any questions, giving them advice, go along with them if there's anything that might be kind of out of the normal. So we do have a list of pros and cons here. So a pro for working with an agent on a team is that the agent is focused on buyers, which means that there's probably somebody else on the team that is charged with taking care of the paperwork and coordinating all the different aspects of the transaction. We call that a TC in most cases, a transaction coordinator. And just as a sidebar, we actually have a great TC that works for us who's fantastic. Oh yeah, we are a team, Treasure Valley Dave team. And anyway, so another pro is that there's typically a backup agent ready if needed. So if one agent is on vacation, out with the family, something's come up, there's typically another agent on the team that can step right in seamlessly and help you find that house. That's what we do here on the Treasure Valley Dave team too. Oversight from leaders of the team. Like I was just saying a little bit ago, they have trainers and coaches and things like that on teams that can help keep agents up to speed on the latest things going on. It's a pretty nice thing. And then paperwork handled by the pros. That's that TC person I was talking about. A con is that they often are taking this very seriously and they stick to a schedule. They can't take time to look at 80 houses. Now, why do I say that? Because guess how many houses we looked at when we were looking to buy the house that we're in now? Just about 80 of them. And bless his heart, our agent was the nicest guy ever, but it did take a long time, and maybe we missed some opportunities. He didn't ask the questions that we're going to be talking about over in Module 4. So stick around. That one's hugely important, and it means a lot to me. So solo agent, there's got to be some pluses and minuses there, right? Yeah, a plus might be that they do have time to look at 80 houses with you. So if, let's say you're retired and you have nothing but time, your agent's a great person to hang out with. Looking at 80 houses might just be a fantastic thing. Also, a solo agent can be very hands-on to service you. They could be, whenever you're ready, they need the commission so bad that they'll go out and show you houses in the middle of the night. So another way of saying that is they could be very hands-on service for you. So if you're somebody that really needs, that extra hand-holding, not because there's some information that you lack and you're unsure about something, because, a great agent on a team can handle that, get you the information and stuff. But if you're just somebody that likes the hand-holding for the sake of having your hands held, then probably an individual agent who's not doing a whole lot of business might be the best person for you. A negative is they typically don't have systems and they're more seat of the pants. A team is going to typically have a fantastic CRM. It's a client relationship management tool that keeps track of things. And individual agents don't often have that. A sole agent might also be very busy with other tasks like taking kids to school or picking them up or various other things, and they won't have that availability for you. And another con is that there's typically not a backup agent. Typically because, they only have, 2-3 closings a year, and they need every penny, and they're not going to share any of that commission with another agent, even if it brings, discomfort to you or doesn't work in your schedule. So there's some pros and cons. I wasn't trying to be negative or anything one way or the other, just put some realism out there. Another great question is, how many clients are you currently working with? So you don't want an agent that has so many that they're too busy to provide you with the information that you need and the service that you deserve. But you don't want an agent that isn't working with any, because then they don't have the experience, the market experience of knowing what's going on. So typically you'll find that agents that have better systems can work with more clients at a higher level for each of the clients, which is an absolutely great thing. It's, like going to the Men's Warehouse. They can get you some great suits, but they don't start from, pulling some wool out of some sheep and then going in the back and putting it all together. It's like, no, they have systems to make sure that you are very well treated and your needs are met. So how will you keep in touch with me and how often? That's question number 7. So COVID taught us a lot to use technology to communicate. If you're still in, say, I don't know, California, and you haven't even come up here yet for your fact-finding trip, oftentimes a Zoom phone call or a Zoom meeting is a great way to get to know each other. And I know my lender that you're going to meet in the next segment, he uses Zoom very often to get to know his people as well. Okay, we've got the get to know you part done, but now we're more on the transactionals, like when are you available, or, oh, hey, Dave, I saw this house. Can we go take a look at it, and things like that. Emails, text work absolutely great for something like that. Both ways. It's like agents are busy. They get a text. They can respond to it when they get their break. It's funny. I get in a car to go someplace, and that's when people start texting me. So being able to like get to where I'm going and then start returning text, it works absolutely great. And maybe you're the same way. Although we have some people that are a little bit more old school and they prefer that phone call. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that either. So whatever works the best for you is how your agent should be able to communicate with you. Another great question. Question number 8. Do you work with buyers and sellers? So you hear the phrase buyer's agent or listing agent that works with sellers, and you don't really want an agent that works just exclusively with buyers and or with sellers. And not the and, just the or part. Because you want someone that has a good mix of understanding what's going on in the market as far as what are sellers expecting, what are buyers asking for, what do buyers need right now. And it's really hugely important, especially when it gets to the point where we're putting in the offers and we're doing that negotiation back and forth. So somewhere in the range of like, if your agent has 3 sellers for every 7 buyers, that's a pretty good mix. It could be 50-50 or something like that, but to have some exposure to both buyers and sellers is going to be a very beneficial thing for you. Number 9, do you have references I can check out? That's pretty good too. In today's world, doing checking out their online presence and seeing what kind of Google reviews they have or Facebook reviews, going on their website and looking at testimonial videos, that can be very powerful and give you a real good feeling for, how things are, how that agent works with other people and the results that they've got. Also, maybe you want to dig a little bit deeper. It would not hurt to ask the agent, hey, do you have 2 or 3 people that I can call and really ask? And they should be able to say, yeah, I've got these people that are a very similar situation that you're in. I think you'd have a great time talking with them. So I think that's a great question. Number 10, what areas do you specialize in? So I'm not talking about whether it's, commercial versus retail versus residential, because you're probably going to want someone that focuses on residential. In Idaho, if you have a real estate license, you can do any kind of property, but you'll want someone that's, again, up to speed on what's going on in the market with buyers and sellers. I'm talking about areas like if you're wanting to live in the north end of Boise, there's a half dozen real estate agents / teams that handle that area very well. They know all the ins and outs, the intricacies of what goes on in that area. If I was moving there, I would go talk with one of those people. But if you're just looking for a regular house in a regular neighborhood, that's pretty typical for most agents to handle because the Treasure Valley is fairly small. It only takes 20, 30 minutes to get from one place to another. So it's not that big of a deal. Personally, we work everywhere from Mountain Home up to Emmett, out to New Plymouth and Payette, stops in Wilder and Parma, but we really focus on Nampa, Caldwell, Meridian, but we are very familiar with all those different places. Now, some agents won't go out that far. Their business model is to just focus in on one small area like North Meridian or something like that, which is absolutely fine. But to ask that question ahead of time to make sure it's like, okay, so Mr. Agent, how many homes have you sold in Melba? And if they go, well, I've never even been to Melba, that might not be a good fit. But if you're saying, hey, how many of you sold in Star? Oh, like 3 or 4 in the last couple of years. That would be someone that, could very well answer your questions. Certainly, this is a great question to ask. Can you explain the buying process from start to finish? Well, fortunately, once you get to a module 5, you're going to know the buying process start to finish, at least as far as you're involved, the things that you'll be responsible for being a part of. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you the process right now. Don't worry. But that agent should be able to just jump in there and go through all the steps and probably have a couple of good stories about some things that happened along the way. If you get an agent that says, gosh, we're look at houses and right at the offer and then we'll just pray it all comes together, that's really not the process. So good question to ask there. So number 12, how will you determine my wants and needs? Well, this is the part of the process that we didn't get to do when we were buying our house that resulted in us looking at 60, 80 houses. And I think looking back, it's very important that we talk about this. So your agent should be able to talk with you about what's important to you. And we do have a checklist over here on the other page. And you want to make sure that you kind of go through that and highlight what's important. The agent should also be talking with you about, obviously, how many bedrooms and what square footage, how many car garage do you need. But there's more to it than just that. There's the finding out of your motivation, your timeline, things that are important to you that aren't necessarily, features and benefits of a house. So those are questions that are hugely important. For us, it was school district. Who knew? We didn't know. And we didn't find out about that until house number 60. And so we wasted all that time looking at the first 60 houses. So having that agent talk with you and figure out what it is that's important. Not to say, too, that as you go through the process, maybe you get up to house 5 or 6, say, you know what? I think things are changing for us. So having that open line of communication is going to be huge. It's not like first time you meet, lock it in stone, that's it, you can't change. Nope, you can change. So number 13, how do you help buyers compete in this market? Well, that's where we do a great job with this. And you're going to see this in module number 4 when we talk with Maureen. She is such an expert when it comes to this. But so what we do, just to give you an example, is that obviously we find out what's important to the seller, and then we find out what flexibility that you have. Something that we've seen often happen is that the seller needs a week or 2 after closing to get their stuff moved out. They maybe can't afford to move out on closing, but they need the money to make their move, to buy a U-Haul or get a U-Haul or whatever. So, and if you're, say, in an apartment and an extra 2 weeks is not going to be a big thing for you, well, we can put those 2 things together and get your offer accepted. And it's not always just the free rent back after closing, but it could be some other things too. So we are really good at finding out. We're really good at communicating. And that's really what kind of brings these things together more often than not and holds deals together more often than not. What professional contacts do you have? So we've been working, gosh, how many years have we been doing this? Quite a while. And we've got this great little toolbox of great tradesmen and other professionals that can do things that are great people, great service, great price. And we're more than happy to share those people with you. Whether it's a roofer, a mover, a handyman to take care of some little projects, we've got you covered. That is an important question to ask one of the agents that you're interviewing. And why is that? Well, because if they can't readily rattle off, 5 or 6 really key people that they have along those lines, then they maybe you haven't been doing, well, the right level of service for one, and two, maybe they just don't have enough experience. And maybe they only take this as a part-time job. So just thought I'd throw that out there. Number 15, how does your commission work? Well, it works pretty standardly throughout the entire state of Idaho. And way that is almost always the seller pays for your buyer's agent's commission. And so it typically doesn't cost you a penny to have representation. It costs you the same amount, zero, to have a lousy agent or to have a great agent. So I don't know how about you, but I tend to go with a great agent. And but now that's not to say too that if you find a for sale by owner, sometimes it works a little bit differently, and you might end up paying some or all of the commission for your agent in that situation. But hopefully, because you're going for sale by owner, that the price would be cheaper, so you'd still be coming out ahead. I don't know, each situation is going to be different. But and then speaking also with agents, if you have been talking with an agent and then you go out to, say, I'll just throw this out there, a builder's website, and say, hey, I have a question about the square footage of this model. And then they go, please put in your email address. Builders look at that simple act of you giving them your email address as now that you have cut out any representation. So what that means is the agent for the builder is going to double in the deal, and it cuts out all other agents from helping you. So if you have any questions, it would be best to talk with your agent and have your agent contact the builder. Don't worry, you're not bothering the agent. They'd rather do that and make sure that you have proper representation than to have you make a mistake and cut out your representation altogether. Does it happen? Does every builder like that? No, but there are some out there. And so I just want to make sure that you're aware of that. Number 16, I'm relocating from out of the area. How can you help? That's a great question to ask an agent. And you've probably already been checking out their YouTube videos. And so you have an idea of kind of the stuff that they might do. But it kind of comes back to, do they have experience doing this? Do they have those people in that toolbox that they can offer to help you? And that could be like great movers. I got to tell you, we have fantastic moving outfit that has given such high quality and reasonably priced service to so many of our people. It's just fantastic. Also, having an agent that your agent here can find, say in California, that already has a relationship and can interview that other agent and make sure that they're going to be a good agent for you before sending that agent over to look at your house. So that's another great tool, another great thing that your agent here can do. So those would be the answers I'd be looking for if I was asking an agent that question. Also, there's other things that your agent can do because you might be stuck halfway between here and there and not here in the area when different key events happen. Key events could be like closing or the final walkthrough, or it could be even, finding a neighborhood to live in or the right house. We've helped people do that. People have moved here that have never even been in Idaho before. They get here, they love the house, they love Idaho. And why is that? Well, as you'll see with in episode number, module number 4 with Maureen, where your eyes and ears and your nose when it comes to finding the right place to live. So that's pretty much it for this module. Go ahead and check out that checklist and find out what's important to you, and then use that when you're talking with your agent, your prospective agent, and talk with a couple of them. What's it going to hurt? So that's it for module number 2. Next, we're going to have module number 3, which is going to be on your financing stuff. And I think that's going to be hugely important. I think you'll like it. So, without any delay, let's get right to it. Nice. Knowing what questions to ask when interviewing agents is a vital thing to know. Another vital thing to know is what a buyer consultation is all about. So click below to find out. And if you need to sell as well, click below and have a real live human research and tell you what your home is worth. Now for the next riveting subject, your financial situation worksheet. Hey, so today we're over here with Darren, our fabulous lender, and he's going to answer some questions for us about, getting ready and getting pre-approved and how to maintain that pre-approval so, we don't screw this process up. We're all a team and we all have the same goal to get you into your next house. Hi, Darren. How's it going?
Hey, good morning, Dave. Doing well.
Excellent. Wow. Thanks for letting us invade your office today.
Absolutely. No problem.
And what a beautiful place this is. When people come to see you, they're going to be here at the Village in Meridian, looking at those beautiful mountains out there.
Yes.
Also here at the Village is great places to eat, get some coffee or some lunch.
Absolutely. Lots of things to do around here.
So true. And also, another great thing to do here is, apply for a loan. Or you can do that on the website too, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Nice.
In person, over the phone, or online.
Man, technology is great, huh? Wow. So we're going through our different steps to homeownership. And today we're on step number 3, our financial situation worksheet.
Okay.
And if you guys haven't got your own copy of this, you can download it. We'll give you a link for sure. It's packed full with some great questions to make sure that you ask and things to consider yourself. So when you guys do start this home buying process, excuse my coffee, but it's been one of those mornings, right? That's the stuff of God's. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into buying a house, and obviously getting your budget figured out, because they don't want to buy something that is, like Dave Ramsey says, you don't want your house to be a curse, you want it to be a blessing.
Absolutely.
So to know that, you guys are going to have to figure out your monthly budget. And we have this great spreadsheet here that you can go to our website and get and plug in your own numbers. But one of the key things I want you to notice is down at the bottom, there at the left, is your goal, how much you want to save for your down payment. And then we tally how much that you've got in your savings right now. And then it also gives you the difference there, which is how much more you need to save up. So to get that first number, how much you need for a down payment depends on quite a few things. And that's why we've got a great lender, and he's going to answer some of those things. What goes into how much somebody needs for, getting into a house, a down payment, earnest money, closing costs, all these mystical things.
Yep. 20% would get you away from the mortgage insurance. But you can have as little as 0.5% of your purchase price. So $500 on $100,000. So it's down payment assistance.
Depends on the type of loan you're going to get.
Yep.
Okay. And we're going to talk about that more in a little bit. So there's other things you're going to need cash for too. And that's going to be closing costs. What do closing costs usually run?
Closing costs are 2.5 to 3% of your purchase price or loan amount, depending on purchase price or doing a refinance.
Now, do all these closing costs, can some of them be put into the mortgage so I don't have to come up with cash at the beginning?
Yes, they can be wrapped into the price of the home. So the seller pay them, and then they would credit you. And
then that's going to affect how much I need to save up to get into a house.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, this is going to start to get pretty complicated pretty quick. Seems like what we need on our team is a lender.
Yeah, it helps for sure.
Right. So when you guys are starting this process, even as you're putting together your budget, having the right lender on your side is going to be hugely important. We've got a list of questions here that you could ask your lender. But I want to know from a lender, what are some of the questions people don't ask that they should be asking?
Really the process, I think. What is the process, how long it takes, what all they'll need to provide. Right. I know it's pretty upfront, we discuss it upfront, but there's still that question of, you might feel that we're really intrusive or we're really asking for a lot. And that all comes down from the investors, the ones who purchase these loans on the secondary market. It's not our rules.
Okay, so the rules that you go by are dictated by several different things. Your investors.
Yeah.
If it's a government-backed loan, then I'm sure there's government
Fannie
regulations.
Mae, Freddie Mac, we have heard of them.
Sure. Okay. When let's say people get into the process, and then they're so far into the process, they go, "Gosh, I wish I would have known this earlier." Do you know what? Does anybody ever say that? And what are they talking about?
Really, no, I think it's pretty transparent up front. It's always really good to do a Zoom, though, or meet in person, because when you're on the phone, it is tough for someone to capture all that information, because it is a lot of information. And me, I like to go into depth and try to help people understand.
Right.
Instead of just being real plain Jane. I like to go in depth, and so hopefully they have an understanding of why we're needing what we're needing and why we're asking for it.
So I think maybe that's one of the questions that we don't have on our list is the particular lender you're talking with. Are they going to be able to get on a Zoom call with you or meet you in person, and then just find out what's really important to you, and then not just respond to your questions, but to be proactive and come up with other things that you probably need to know that you don't even know you need to know.
Yeah, on that note, one of the big things is income, how income can be averaged. A lot of people think I make, however many dollars an hour, and I work this many hours a week, and that's how it should be averaged. But there's a lot of things that come into play previously, bonus income, a little bit of commission income, or self-employment. That totally changes the dynamic of income qualifying.
Very nice. Well, we'll talk about income in a little bit, but our lender checklist that we have in our book, this is for you guys to print out, make copies. So when you're talking to, if you're comparing lenders to lenders, you have a place to put down the information. So it's like when you're looking at houses, after a while, they all kind of look the same. So apply for a loan and get pre-approved. So this comes back to the different documentation for a typical loan that you guys are going to want to start putting together. Obviously, you're going to talk with your lender. Maybe different programs require different kinds of information, or maybe if you're a W-2 employee versus a small business person, you get paid on a 1099. Tell us what kind of things that you ask for documentation-wise to get this process started.
If you're W-2'd, we'll need 2 years W-2s from all of your positions. Potentially, if you switch jobs towards the end of the year and leads into the next year, we'll want that last pay stub from the previous employer. And then 30 days of most recent pay stubs is the basics for the W-2 income.
That's pretty easy.
Yeah, that is easy. Yeah. Self-employed gets a little more complicated, but
okay. So if you're a W-2 employee, how long do you have to be a W-2 employee to qualify for a mortgage?
That goes into a bunch of different scenarios, because if there's job gaps, we have to take that into account. It can be as long as a year. It can be as short as first pay stub. So it just depends on the previous employment history.
Gotcha. So if I'm coming up from California, working for the same company or in the same field, then it's a lot easier, shorter time
absolutely.
frame.
That can be an easy transition.
And then if I'm a small business person, how long experience do I have to have in that small business role, 1099 stuff?
You want to have 2 years if you are making a move and moving a business. If you're clientele based and it's something that makes sense, like construction, you own a big construction business, where's your clientele going to come from when you start your business in Idaho? They'll look into that. But if it's something you can do remotely, then it's all computer based or whatnot, you can move wherever you want because you're remote. It's kind of the same with a W-2 employee if you're remote.
Right.
Yeah.
And I guess we learned how to do that during COVID, huh?
Yeah. It just has to make sense. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. So I think what we're getting to there is that talk with your lender. Every situation is going to be a little different. And as long as it makes sense. I mean, you wouldn't want someone to loan you money you couldn't pay back, right?
Right. Yeah.
Well, unless you're the government, I don't know. So our different mortgage options, we have different types of loans. So how do you know what loan type that a person's good for?
So if we're not a veteran, we're not doing a rural development, in a rural area, then it comes down to a few basic things, and that's your debt to income ratio.
Okay.
And then your credit score. And credit history.
Right.
Plays into that.
Interesting. So if I have a good credit history and good income coming in, I might be able to go just conventional.
Yeah, then we'd be looking at a conventional loan. Yeah.
Even if I don't have 20% to put down?
Absolutely. Yep. There's mortgage insurance we can get, and there's things we can do to help that not be so burdensome.
Okay. And just back of the envelope, about what's the minimum amount with a conventional loan that I'd have to put down?
You can do 3%. That's the minimum down for conventional.
FHA's 3.5, isn't it?
It is. We can go less than that if we go with down payment assistance.
Wow. Okay. Well, down payment assistance, what does that mean?
That's just local agencies that have funds available, whether we do it in a second mortgage or a forgivable grant. And there's also free grant money out there too if you income qualify for that. So that's the few options where you can do closing costs and down payments. If you're in a situation where the seller won't pay closing costs,
right,
you can actually get that pretty much financed as well.
Wow. So the best way to find out about these, you probably keep up with these programs, right?
Absolutely.
Nice. So did you guys catch that? I mean, if you're like maybe a first-time home buyer or low income, there is help out there?
Really, you don't even have to be a first-time home buyer for the majority of the programs now.
Really?
Yeah. So if first-time home buyer means if you've owned a home in the last 3 years.
Okay.
So even if you owned a home 4 years ago and you come back into the market and have been renting for 4 years, you want to buy another home, you're a first-time home buyer.
Wow.
As far as the benefits to that, though, there's only a certain amount of programs and benefits that really help first-time home buyers. It's pretty straightforward these days.
That's pretty wild. It's like, I can't go there, but so you mentioned VA and RD. Why would people want to use one of those?
If you're a veteran, it's one of the best loans out there because of the things you can do with it, and the ease of getting a VA loan. If you're a veteran, is pretty good.
Okay.
Credit score and debt to income, like I mentioned on conventional, you can stretch those limits a lot more than you can conventional.
If I'm a veteran and I've used my VA eligibility on, say, my current home, can I buy another home with
You
the
absolutely can. Yep, that's something to discuss with your lender because there's some calculations involved.
Okay.
Depending on your scenario, you can absolutely have 2 VA loans.
Wow, that's pretty big. And we're in Idaho, so we have a lot of rural area. And so what's this RDA loan? RD loan?
Yeah, it's a USDA loan. It's for homes in rural areas, obviously. It's 100% financing is the big thing. It's a little tougher to do these days. You have to fit into their little box, but it is definitely an option.
So if you're looking to move out of the metro area into a small town 15, 20 minutes away.
Yeah, could be in Boise area. It could be as little as 15 minutes from Boise.
Wow. And the best way to find out what loan works for you and what you work best with the loan is to talk to your lender. I see another one, reverse mortgages. And I understand, now the economy's changed a little bit, that more people are asking about that. Is that an option for people that have been in a home for a while?
That is an option, yeah, absolutely. It goes off the equity that you have in the home. You have to age qualify for it, and there's a few other stipulations that are in there, but you can literally buy a house with no payment. You can get into a home with the down payment and then not have a payment. So, great options.
Wow. That actually, there again, it could be great. Just talk with your lender because, there's, and then we have a construction loan. So if that's somebody that wants to have a house built, do they have to have all this cash to pay the contractor up front, or what can they do?
Can get a loan for that. It's a longer, lengthier process, a lot more planning. If you own a lot, so to say, and you want a builder to build on it, but you want to finance those costs to build that home, then that's just an easy construction loan. You can do it where you buy the lot and then do the construction loan and have a builder do all that. It's a great way if you have the resources to build your own home.
They have some programs, if I'm right, that you can get the loan one time and it covers construction and then turns into the mortgage?
Correct, yeah. One-time close loan, that's definitely available. And then you can also do a construction and then an end loan. There's benefits to both and pros and cons to both.
Okay. Wow. Sounds like a lender is going to be a key member on our team, huh? Firm up your down payment plans. So that could be come first knowing how much that you need for a down payment.
Absolutely, and that's where, once again, more time we have to plan, the better off we are. Start the mortgage process as soon as you can to know what programs are out there and have a plan, firm plan.
And I think you said starting earlier, that would also help if you need to, polish up your mortgage. I mean, your credit rating, right?
Correct, absolutely. We can do what's called a rapid rescore. If it makes sense to get you to a 750 versus a 700, we have tools and resources to help do that.
So going back to your guys' monthly budget sheet, two questions for you. One is, when I have all this different kind of income, how do I make sure that it can be used by the lender to make sure, say I have a side hustle and maybe I don't keep all that good of records with it. Maybe I'm out power washing driveways on the weekend or something. What do you need to see that I can use that income when it comes time to calculate?
These days, it's all what you report to the government. So what you report to the IRS is what we can use.
So if I have a side hustle that puts cash in my pocket, it doesn't really mean anything.
Nope, it does not, unfortunately.
But can I use that side hustle money for my down payment?
You absolutely can if it's seasoned. When it's seasoned, that means if it's been in your bank account for 2 months or more.
For 2 months or more?
Yeah, we go back 2 months when we look at deposits, when we look at bank statements and look for deposits on there. And then that goes into other things. How much was the deposit compared to your income? There's a percentage that we use.
Okay. So if you're in that kind of a situation, starting a few months out and getting all these things kind of in order,
yep.
Talking with your lender.
Best way to plan is have time.
Exactly. Those are some great questions there. Oh, some other down payment. A family member can help you out as well with down payment?
Yeah, you can use gift funds from a church, work, any nonprofit, family, close family. It can't be a long distant third cousin or something.
Right.
Yes, there's definitely those options as well. If you have the resources for it.
Nice. And then we have maintain your pre-approval. So in our booklet, we've got a long list of don'ts that you're not supposed to do because it could jeopardize. But some of them I wanted to ask you about specifically is be cautious when consolidating debt. So I'm looking at my monthly budget and I'm saying, gosh, I only have $1,000 more to pay off this, but could I put that $1,000 to something that would improve my credit score more than just paying off that?
Yeah, that comes down to one of those rapid rescore things. If you're talking improving credit score, it's not always I'm going to pay this off and then my credit score is going to go up. There's different factors that go into that. Paying something down to a certain amount versus paying it off could boost your scores more.
Okay.
It's kind of, you got to pay to play the credit score game is what I call it.
Probably you don't want to close any active cards you've been using?
Correct. That can hurt your credit scores because you have that history built up with that creditor, and if that goes away, that can hurt your scores.
So when I'm figuring out my monthly budget thing, I might think, it's natural to say that if I pay this off, my credit's going to look better, but it could actually hurt it.
It could hurt it, yeah.
And then this other one I saw was don't change careers while you're in this pre-approval process. What does that mean?
That can hurt things depending on the career change. If it's a W-2 and it's still kind of an admin or computer work or something like that, we could be okay. If you're going from 1099 construction to something totally different, or vice versa,
okay.
W-2 to 1099 contractor, that can definitely hurt you. And your waiting period could be 2 years, unfortunately, just like starting your own business.
But I like your first scenario, going from a 1099 to get into this house. Maybe I do pick up a W-2 job for.
Yep, we can do that too. If we can use it, that first month, first pay stub, then you're in a new career and you're W-2'd and income should be fine.
So, and obviously I'm a real estate agent, and I know some real estate, we're all 1099ers, we're all small business people, but if I haven't had a great year, maybe there was like a housing crash or something, I could go out and get a W-2 job, a regular 40-hour-a-week job, and then use that to get into a house.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be smart.
Yeah.
But going from a great W-2 job and become a real estate agent full-time without any history of it, I'm going to be waiting a couple
That'll
of years.
hurt you. Yeah, and if you're doing a part-time gig to supplement income while you're building up your real estate business, we can use that, but we can't use the real estate business income.
And then I see another one here is don't shift around your finances. So if someone's got their money in these different pots, like maybe a retirement account and places like this, when they get close to closing, they need to have their money so that it can be wired to the title company.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen people at the last minute think they're doing the right thing and moving money. What's the really right thing to do?
It's really to just let it sit, or if we have time, it depends on how much time we have. If we've got, we're 2.5, 3 months out, let's get it into one account. Let's figure out how much you need, what you're going to use, and get it into one account. Last minute transfers are just a pain on everybody because we need that documentation now. We could be up against a tight timeline where we're having to come up with 2 months of bank statements for multiple accounts because money's moved around, and it just makes it real difficult on my team to go through line for line every transaction on a bank statement, especially if there's multiple ones. So once again, planning up front and having more time is beneficial. Takes away the headache.
Are you guys getting a theme here? It's like, get started early.
Yeah.
Well, and let's ask about that is how early is too early to start talking with your lender?
No time too early. Yeah.
So it's going to be at least
a year out.
A year out?
Yeah, then we're absolutely.
That'd be golden because then you have time to make tweaks and improvements.
Absolutely. Yep. The more time helps for sure.
Well, and speaking of time, I'd like to kind of transition for a second into the cost of waiting.
Right.
So Darren, the cost of waiting. Interest rates are a little bit higher. I don't know if you noticed. Higher than they were 2 years ago.
That's right.
So do you know anybody that does know what interest rates are going to do?
Not exactly. We know they're going to come down. We don't know the time and how much. That's the big what if we knew, and then we'd be able to control everything.
Or could they go up? I mean, so interest rates are kind of, 2 years ago we had a different president and interest rates are lower. So I'm thinking there must be some correlation between politics and interest rates.
I believe there always is, Dave.
And then we do have another election coming up, and it could go one way or the other.
Yep.
And that could impact. So if it goes one way, we might end up with lower rates.
Yep.
If it goes another way, when I first bought my first house, it was 13.5%.
Right.
So it's feasible we could go back up to that area.
I don't see it going that high. It would definitely crush the economy.
You are an optimist.
Things are slowing down with the rate hikes right now, and everything. The government always lags, right? They're always behind. So I believe we will be seeing them sooner rather than later. I believe could be like around the election, could be sooner. But that's just going to bring out more buyers, and we're in an inventory shortage. So
I'm glad you mentioned that. So I did a little workup here, and this is just my layman's attempt at figuring out what houses are what it would cost if you waited. Darren's got a whiz-bang program that we're going to look at in just a second, but from what I put together, tell me if this sounds about right. Let's say we take a sample house of $400,000, and you put 10% down. Your monthly principal and interest payments is going to be just shy of $2,400, and that's at 7% interest. And then if we waited a year and we still haven't had the election yet, it's still 7%. just inflation. The cost of houses has gone up like 60% every decade for over 50 years. And so that means like 6% a year. So that same house of 400,000 would be 424,000. So just out of the get-go, you're going to be getting a bigger loan because the house is more expensive. And so your monthly payment's going to go up a little bit more. But let's say I waited 2 years because I'm going to wait for interest rates to come back down. In 2 years, let's say the interest rates are 6%, then it looks like a person could save $114 a month on their payment.
Right.
So that's, I mean, every dollar helps, right? But the scenario is that's 2 years away. House prices went up 6% a year, so that went up essentially for 49,440. I'll say 50,000 because I'm a real estate agent. And then you also spent, say, 2 years renting, so that would be like $2,000 a month. That's 48,000. So you spent almost $100,000 to save $114 a month, and you were still stuck in a house that wasn't maybe working for you for 2 more years.
Yeah, it's
and
not yours.
2 years you weren't building equity too.
Right, absolutely.
So are these numbers I'm throwing out there, is this just like wild stuff, or what do you say?
That's 100% accurate. Appreciation is a thing, and real estate's always going up and down, right? But you're still building that equity long term. You're paying down that balance, and hopefully it always goes up. Even if it comes down a little bit, you're still okay because you're still paying down that balance, and it's yours at the end of the day. And there's ways to accelerate that mortgage to pay it off sooner and all that kind of stuff. There's lots of tools and resources. Once you get into owning a home, you can use that as a vehicle to do a lot of other things. So you're not paying someone else's mortgage.
I heard Dave Ramsey say that if you get a 15-year mortgage, that it always gets paid off in 15 years, if not sooner. Is that true?
That is true, yes.
It won't go to 30 by itself?
Right, no, it doesn't go backwards.
And what about if I have a 30-year note, but I just like to have that little extra cushion in case bad times hit, can I pay extra every month?
You absolutely can.
Do people do that?
Yes, all the time. You're canceling your interest rate.
Really?
You're paying that off sooner.
So if I have an extra $100 this month, I can throw it to my principal.
Yep, principal only, and you're accelerating that mortgage. So your equity is going up faster.
And I won't see it now, but when I get further down, or if further into my loan, or if I actually sell my house sooner, then
you got more equity.
I'll have more equity.
Yeah.
Huh.
More resources to do things.
So the people actually have control over what their economic future is all about.
Absolutely. Yep. As long as you make your minimum payment,
right?
You're moving forward and putting yourself in a better situation.
So it's almost like you have your investment, and obviously you're going to maintain it, keep the leaves out of the gutters and a fresh coat of paint on everything, but also maintain the financial aspect. Pay some extra towards that principal.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow, that's so empowering.
It is. Yeah.
Nice. So back to this, the cost of waiting.
Yeah.
So one thing I didn't talk about is, rent is, usually people have a year lease, and what do rents usually do? Over time.
They always go up.
And your principal and interest payment on your mortgage?
Stays the same.
Every time?
Yep. Stays the same.
Wow.
Yeah. When you're in a lease, they're not going to come back and say, we want to lower your rent.
So let's say we have a different president come in and interest rates fall. You bought your house today. I could go refinance that?
Yeah, and we're going to help you with the cost of that as well.
Really? I'm renting. We have an election. Can I go to my landlord and say, hey, Donald Trump's president now, I want you to lower my rent? How's that going to work?
I probably won't hear you.
Oh. You said something a second ago too about, so we have this traditional inflation rate of 6% a year for housing, but you mentioned inventory is low.
Right. Yeah, inventory is really low. Even at the interest rate level we're at right now, people are multiple offer situations, overbidding for asking price, I should say. And paying more for that house just because of the lack of inventory. And if someone needs a house today, they have to find what they can find, and it might be limited.
That sounds like 2 years ago talk.
Yeah.
So if interest rates do come down, is that going to be a signal to buyers that, giddy up, cowboy?
It will, and it's going to be a race to the one you want, and how much money you have to go over asking price.
So we already have low inventory. We have strong demand now. Like you said, we have multiple offers. And then if you open that floodgate and more buyers come in,
It really, really hurts things.
so instead of a 6% higher price for a house in a year, it could be because of the low inventory and higher demand. It could be quite a bit higher.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we saw it a couple of years ago.
So that's more of the high cost of waiting.
Right.
So you're going to plug in some numbers for us.
Yeah, I can put in some numbers here. We'll just use the 400 again.
Alrighty.
And property taxes. A lot of homeowner associations out here will use a typical $35 a month. We'll go with, let's do 15% down, which would be 60,000. You obviously don't have to put that down. Like I said before, we have down payment assistance. Rates are more like 7% today. So here's our graph.
Wow, what does this mean?
We can go to, this is a little more number friendly here. Payment difference, if you wait 6 months, you're a couple $100 lower, but come year one, you're 24,000 in the red, which means you've lost that 24,000 in equity because of appreciation.
Yeah, but I saved my monthly payment.
Yeah, you saved your monthly payment for sure, but you're losing $47,000 year two, and you're $13 better a month.
Right. And of course, your 47,000 doesn't include the amount that you were spending on rent.
On rent, right.
So if you're still a renter,
yeah,
it's closer to 100,000. But you're saving $13 a month.
Yeah.
Now, if Warren Buffett calls you up for financial advice, you going to tell him how smart you are?
Yeah. And then here's just a different comparison of appreciation, amortization lost, and appreciation. Amortization is obviously the time you're paying down that mortgage versus paying someone else's mortgage. Your landlord's looking at this amortization schedule, and they're in heaven because you're paying it for them.
Sure.
That's why it's called an investment property. Total cost after year one is $24,000. So that's a chunk of change right there.
Wow. Yeah, just from waiting.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about scenarios with someone that maybe is renting now and doesn't have a house. Well, let's say that I do have a house. I've been in it for, say, at least 3 years. And now this house doesn't work for me. Maybe kids have moved out, or maybe we have kids, they moved in. I need a different house. Should I wait to get the right house for interest rates to come down?
Once again, if you're comfortable paying that higher interest rate for 12 months, 18 months maybe I would say would be the max,
But then I have my house for at least 3 years. I've got, $300,000 in equity in it, and I need to move into a house that works for me that costs $400,000.
Mm-hmm.
So I need a mortgage of $100,000. So that interest rate, whether it's 6 or 7 or 8, is it really that big of a deal on a monthly basis?
No, obviously the lower the loan amount, right? So if it's only $100,000, 7% versus 5.5% isn't going to be that big of a difference. And that's one of the things I would do is go over your whole, if you have that $300,000 in equity to play with, maybe you have a $600 car payment and it's $10,000 to pay it off. It might make more sense to just knock that out of the way.
Wow.
And that saves you $600 a month when your mortgage payment from 5.5 to 7.5 does not change at $600. So you're already ahead. It's one of the things we would look at.
Oh my gosh. So I can move out of a house that doesn't work for me, and I might be able to pay off the car, or maybe some of those medical bills that have been sticking around or something like that, and then get into the right house and
still save money per month.
yeah. All right. So we've covered the first time, the people that are renting, people that need to get into the right size house. So it sounds like it's the right time to buy, even though the crazy market and interest rates and stuff.
Yeah, always, situational, and sooner the better, because you're going to start building that equity and paying that mortgage down. That's just more money in your pocket.
Wow. That's pretty, it's pretty powerful.
It is.
I mean, so if you had your 25-year-old kid out there, what would you tell them?
Buy as soon as you can afford it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and not to tell stories, but back when interest rates were 13.5 when I bought mine, I was single and I got 3 roommates.
Yeah, you can do that.
And I used their rental income as to help me get into this house. And
Right.
so there are different ways of getting into a house.
Yeah, you can get really creative and make things work. So the first step, obviously, the more time you have to plan and talk to a lender. I mean, there's people I've been talking to for 2-3 years,
Right.
and waiting for that opportune time. Whether they qualify or they not, they're waiting for something to happen on their end, or we're waiting for something to happen on their end to qualify. So, yeah, it's never too early to get in and start asking questions.
And so that actually brings up a really good question is, are there things, everything being equal, right now is the time to buy. But are there things that are going on in someone's life that they should hit the pause button?
Absolutely, there is. Job change, or just out of school, multiple things.
Don't know where you're going to live.
Don't know, yeah. Maybe you're just married and you're thinking about having a kid, but maybe not 100% certain you're going to have kids.
Right.
That could change your whole dynamic of where and what you buy.
Wow. So it doesn't sound like that many reasons. It's just so it's the uncertainty of like where you're going to live and what your financial future is going to be in the immediate future.
Right.
But once you get settled in, then there's no reason why. But let's say I'm going to only be in a place for 2 or 3 years, and then my kids are going to graduate BSU, then I'm going to move with them back to Arizona or something. Should I still buy for that 2 or 3 years, or?
Yeah, you can absolutely. I would recommend it. You can buy, and maybe if you want to, have an investment here. You can make that decision when you get closer to moving.
So I could buy a house, live in it, and then when it comes time to make that decision, I could maybe rent it out.
You can rent it out, hire a property manager to run it for you, and just have a cash flow.
Well, that could be smart.
It is very, very investment smart.
So we've covered people getting into the right size house that already have a house, people that don't have a house, and now we're talking about investors. And it is so I know investors, they go on whether the numbers work or not. And it sounds like there could be situations, maybe not for every investor, but that investing in properties still makes sense.
Absolutely, yeah. If you're going to use it as a primary residence and then turn it into an investment, your mortgage balance is lower, and you should have more appreciation. You got to think of it as your home is a vehicle, right? You can do multiple things with that equity.
Wow, excellent. And who's the best person that people can talk with to kind of figure all this stuff out?
Mortgage side would be me, and property side would be Dave.
Nice. Wow. Let's see. We're almost about done here, Darren. So what's your final thoughts on all this stuff we've been talking about?
I just can't stress enough the time. I know I've said it over and over. The time to plan. Plans do change, but then we can switch gears and readjust our plan, right? But getting into a lender and talking to them sooner rather than later to optimize credit scores, to get their bills and monthly expenses in check, bank account in check if you have multiple deposits from other sources of income that we can't use. There's just a multitude of ways to make things work with more time.
So time, but are you going to come across those people that didn't plan ahead and they come to you and go, oh, I fell in love with this house.
Okay.
Can something be done there? Or?
Oh yeah, we do it all the time. 30 days is your typical close time. You can hop on my website today and apply, and we can close in 30 days or less. So
wow,
we can do that too.
So if you do
makes it more stressful,
sure,
for everybody.
But if you do have time, let's use the time.
Right.
But if something happens where you accidentally get house fever, get with Darren right away and start figuring stuff out, because he does it all the time.
Yeah, every day,
and it works. Wow, that is fantastic. So, what's next in the process is we're going to be talking about things to consider about your next home. Just briefly on that, depending on your mortgage program, the house has to qualify, and meaning that you can't use an FHA to buy a fixer-upper. Am I right on that?
Yeah, correct. There are rehab loans out there. There's ways to fix certain little things, but each program, FHA, VA, and conventional, all have their different guidelines, what they'll accept for the home's condition. Conventional is the easiest, VA is probably the hardest, and then FHA is somewhere in the middle.
And I can't use a USDA loan in the north end of Boise.
Right, correct. Yeah, that's certain targeted areas, they call it. Yeah, that's that. It's all pretty straightforward. It's got to be livable. It can be as nitpicky as can't have flaking paint. Those are easy fixes,
right,
depending on the seller. And we can go out there and scrape some paint and spray some primer.
So another great reason to talk with your lender before we go out looking at houses, before you fall in love with the house. Want to know, what kind of house are you looking for, and also what your budget's going to be for the house. Not just the maximum that the lender says you can get, but what you guys are comfortable with,
right,
looking at your monthly budget.
Yeah.
I like it. Darren, thank you so much for being such a fount of knowledge and helping people
You're welcome,
out.
Dave.
And we're going to have all your contact information on this on this video, so people can reach out to you. So,
any way we can help.
When you guys reach out to Darren, make sure you tell him Treasure Valley Dave sent you. All right, appreciate that. All right, well, thanks, Darren. We'll see you around. We'll see you at the closing table, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Hey, congratulations. You've made it halfway through the program and you've gotten some great information, right? And there's some more great information to come. So keep chugging along. And if you have any questions now or really at any time during the program, give us a call, text, email, whatever. We'd be glad to answer those questions for you and make sure you're clear on what's going on. So what's next? Well, stick around and find out. Mind-blowing. Knowing your financial situation is just riveting. Just as riveting is when you click below to find out what a buyer consultation is all about, or if you need to sell as well, to have a real-life human research and tell you what your home is worth. Just click below and get that process started. Now for a deep dive into things to consider about your next home. All right, we're ready to start part 4. What's part 4 about? Things to consider about your next home. And we've got our special guest star, Maureen, today. Thanks for stopping in, Maureen.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. And I really wanted you here because we're going to be talking about what people should be considering. And you go through those conversations, those exercises with clients all the time, and you know how to pull out the right information.
And it's always fun.
It really is. So we have this great, this booklet. If you haven't got yours yet, go ahead and download it because it's going to be very helpful. There's a lot of good things in there that you'll want to refer back to over and over again. So probably the most important thing is figuring out what's really important to somebody and what they just respond, naturally. It's like, oh yeah, this is important. Is that usually what we find that it's important at the end of the day?
There's a lot of times, no, where it's something totally different that's important, yes.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of several clients that have wanted one thing and they end up getting like 180-degree opposite of the other thing.
Yeah.
And they're even happy.
Exactly. I mean, the best example is what we went through when we bought our house here. I wanted for sure an acre, and I wanted a bigger house than 1,300 square foot. That was really for sure, because that was my little house in California. But I thought, I want a big lot. And it turned out I have a standard size lot, and I love it. It's perfect. When I saw how big an acre is, I said, who's going to take care of all that? So, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, so expectations sometimes change when you actually get here.
Right. So it's good to, so when we moved up here from California, our agent didn't help us go through those steps, and we were looking for this, and eventually we found this. But the process was like, well, we ended up looking at 80 some houses before we figured out what we were really looking for. We don't want you to go through that. So some of the things we want to have you do is do your research first. If you're already up here in the Treasure Valley, it's going to be super easy for you. You can go drive through neighborhoods, look at parks, things like that. If someone is already living up here, what else do you think is important that they should be checking out?
I mean, if they're already living here, it's really the easiest. And then you're probably going to look for, now if you have children, you're going to look for the school. Do you want to be close to the school? Do you want to be close to any other activities that are out here? Do you want to close to the river, to the zoo, whatever it is? The most difficult part, I think, is for the people that are not here. And then doing your research is trying to figure out, okay, what are you looking for? Do you want country living? But then you need to be aware of a couple of other things.
So we've got in our book, the next thing to do is to choose a neighborhood that you love.
Yes.
So it's like, if you find a house that you love, but it's in the wrong neighborhood.
Yeah, so, and I'm gonna take myself as an example. Okay. How we found our neighborhood was Google View.
Really?
Yep. That's how I knew which neighborhood I wanted to be.
And this is when you were still out of the area, though.
Still out of the area. I've never been here. I started looking at Google View to see how does it actually look like. Is it green? Is it brown? What to expect. And then I looked for the greenest spot and found my little triangle where I wanted to stay in.
Right.
And that's where I bought it.
Nice. So if you aren't living up here, like Maureen wasn't when she was doing this, obviously we're going to encourage you to make your fact-finding trip.
Oh, and we did.
Right.
We did. I knew my little area. We came out, and that's where we straight went to that area. And then we explored a little bit outside that area just to make sure that we really picked the right one. And luckily, yes, we did.
So the internet's a great way and doing things remote is a great way to eliminate potential properties.
Yes.
It's like, there's no way I'm going to live in this community, but then you came across the one in Eagle and you said, this is someplace I want to go check out when I'm on my fact-finding trip. So when you're on your fact-finding trip, you don't have that much time.
That's
if
right.
you've eliminated a lot of the stuff before you get here, then we can really focus in and get you in the house you want.
Yeah, and we had people that have never been here before and are very satisfied with where they bought in. How did we do that? We showed them the area, your videos showed them the areas. And
we're their eyes and ears, and you're their nose.
And the nose.
So this is a big one too, is lifestyles, because where you move to, like if you had moved to that 1 acre, your lifestyle would be completely different.
Yeah, I would be cutting my grass right now.
Sure. And then your kids wouldn't be able to like stay in the house and do homework. They'd have to be out there pulling weeds and...
That's right. They would also not have friends right very close just across the street because everything is just further away if you have more land.
So lifestyle is a big thing.
It's a big thing, yes. And here we comes. It's location, 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 and it could be just that one lot that makes that location.
Very true. So if you're relocating from out of state, everything we're talking about still applies to you. There are just those few extra things, like we were just talking about, where your eyes and ears here. So we'll help you eliminate so different possibilities, whether for town or homes. So when you do come up on your fact-finding trip, it's going to be hyper-focused. Being realistic. So it's like there's things you want. Obviously, there's all these things you'd like in your perfect house, but you're probably not going to get everything that you want in your house. And probably at the end of the day, once you get into your house and it's got 80% of the stuff that you wanted, then I think you'll probably be very happy. But there are some things that are wants and some things that are needs. What discussions have you had with people trying to come to terms with that's just a want and not a need, and what is it that you really need?
I think it's, first off, after you have determined in what kind of lifestyle you're looking at, there is a couple of things you can't change on your home purchase. So if you need to have bathrooms, you can change it, but that comes with a big cost. So if you know you need 2 bathrooms, please don't look for a house that has only 1 bathroom, because that is going to be a bigger expense to change. You could, but it's harder to change. And we went with some clients through that process where we saw wonderful homes and it was great, but then it's like, I can't change this, not easily. I can't change it easily. Yep.
So, that reminds me, in our previous segment, we were talking with a lender, and we were talking about, the cost to waiting. And one of the things when you buy a house is you're getting a mortgage, a lot of people do anyway, but that is something that can change. So if down the road interest rates fall, you can refinance. So what I'm saying is if you find the perfect house, but yet the rates are kind of high, it's going to be hard to change the number of bathrooms, but to refinance to a lower rate, if you can get a lower rate because rates have fallen, that's a pretty easy thing to do. There was a long way around, but we got there.
Not sure why we got there, but
just sheer luck.
That's what you wanted to say.
Essential questions when considering your next home. Are these so these are some I just kind of made up, but I'm sure there's going to be some more that you've probably thought of or had those conversations with people.
Yeah, you need to kind of, when you have your area figured out where you would like to be. So it starts off with you want to be in Idaho, of course. And then you're going to narrow it down. Do you want to be on the east side or do you want to be on the west side? And of course, you're going to come to the Treasure Valley. And then you will see when you start looking at homes that the cost of what you would like to spend on your house or your budget or where you're comfortable with what you would like to spend on your house, you will see that will determine in which areas you're looking. Is that one of the essential questions, what the cost is of there?
Well, yeah, obviously that's a huge one, right? But you're absolutely right. Let's say you have 2 similar homes. Maybe it is a half an acre, but you're like right near Boise, maybe in Boise. It's going to be a lot more expensive than if you moved out to Parma or Wilder.
That's right. And then, of course, what else do you have? It's your closing cost, it's utilities, it's how close is everything to you, how convenient can you go shopping, how close is the airport? That was an important one for me.
Yeah. And we have a client that just moved into a small town, probably 30 minutes outside of the population center, and he still commutes in, but because where he came from, he commuted for hours every single day. Now he commutes for, less than an hour. And I was kind of like that when I first moved here. It's like, I have to go someplace in California and it's going to be, an hour to get there, 45 minutes. It's like, no big deal. But now if I have to drive, like 10 minutes, it's like, are we there yet? So your attitude changes once you're up here for a while. And you're talking about expenses after you move in, your utilities. That, I think it's going to be a big change for a lot of people, especially if you come from California. You're going to say, oh my gosh, it's so much cheaper here.
Yeah, gas, for sure, electricity.
But if you move out further in the country, Oftentimes you'll have propane, like a propane tank, or you'll be in an all-electric home, and those costs can be different. I don't know that electric central heating furnaces are a whole lot cheaper. I think they're probably a lot more expensive than gas-fired furnaces.
Yeah.
So will be some different things to compare from one house to the next. An HOA might be another thing. My HOA is under $200 a year. We have a couple little parks, and that's about it within our community. But that one over, was it Sky Mesa, has 2 or 3 pools and a clubhouse.
And a tennis court.
And their HOA is a little bit more than mine.
Just a little.
So those are amenities, one of those two, that you guys find important. It's probably going to be worth that extra money. But if it's not, maybe a community without those things, and it could save some money. So what's included in the sale of a home? Gosh. So it's like someone's looking at a house. Usually on the listing, it says what the seller's just offering up to start with to include in the home.
I think the biggest is that most sellers do not include the washer and dryer and the refrigerator. This is something, it's most likely negotiable, but I think what I've found out that a lot of people expecting it to be included in the sale, and that's a big question. What is included? Sometimes there's play structures outside that are included. Furniture, typically not. It's also something the lender doesn't really like to lend money on. It's not real estate. It's personal property.
And then with new construction, sometimes a backyard's not included.
That's right.
Wow.
Backyard fence.
French drain. Right?
Yeah.
And then another thing is when you're looking at a particular house, whether it's online or we're out showing you, you'll see the DOM number. That's days on the market. And that can be an indication of what?
Motivation of the seller. I think that is a big one. If it looks very good on paper, you think, wow, why is nobody taking that house? There could be something. If it's long on the market than every other house and the price is right, then I guess the no's need to go into that house.
And that kind of goes along with why is the seller moving?
Yeah.
Is there a motivation there?
Yeah. Now, why are they moving? What's the history in general of the house? How often do people move in and out? How frequent?
And didn't you have an example recently of a seller that wasn't motivated? And what happened there?
He's getting motivated. It's been on the market now for several months, I think.
Yeah.
And just got an update. Yes, getting motivated. Yeah, trying to go in high, hoping somebody will catch it. Didn't work out. Here we go. We can make it work.
Interesting. Is the home prone to natural disasters? Those are things that you can find out.
Yeah.
It's like, we don't have very many.
No.
Although, that hurricane?
Tropical storm.
Hillary.
Right.
It rained up here because of that.
Yeah.
For a couple hours.
And it didn't rain on my side.
No?
No.
Oh. Wow. I'm over on the south side of the valley, so I guess that was the difference. The property's history. So Idaho, if you're in California, I just keep saying California because I have some experience there, but in California, if someone dies in the house, you have to report that. In Idaho, no, it's like, nah. And
you can find out if you would like to.
Oh, the neighbors will love to talk.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see, what the area. So is this house priced right? That's where we're going to be helping you out.
Absolutely. That's one of my favorites.
Nice. That is important too.
Yeah, I think so. I don't want anybody to pay too much for a house.
Right.
It gets emotional too quick. So don't move in until you actually have the keys.
So a lot of people think, coming up with a CMA, that's a comparable market analysis, is just for something a seller needs when they figure out the price. But a buyer really needs to know that too.
Yep.
What's the neighborhood like? I think we could kind of gone over that, knowing if you go out there yourself. But there are a couple things too. In Nampa, we have the sugar beet factory, and the internet's all abuzz about, oh, it stinks, blah blah blah. Well, when it does put out an odor, which is usually only like December, January timeframe when they're processing them sugar beets, it smells like burnt peanut butter. It's not a bad smell. I don't think so.
It's okay. I would say it's like a 50-50 situation where people say it's okay and the other.
Kind of like cilantro.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's not every day you smell that. And I don't know, maybe it's like a couple times a year that
Yeah. I think being closer to the freeway, that's something, it will always be there. You will always hear the road noise.
right?
Is that you will see prices are going to be lower the closer you get to the freeway.
And I had a family that's looking for that little acreage, and they saw the pictures of this one house, and they were not up here yet. They're still in California, and they go, "Oh my gosh, this is absolutely great." So I did some research, and it didn't take long. I pulled up the Google map, and I go, "Look, 100 yards away is a train track," and it's a very it's something that gets used all the time. And they go, "Oh my gosh, thanks, Dave. We didn't even see that. Let's move on to the next one." So that's another neighborhood thing.
Yeah.
Oh, are there any events? So I do have a client that lives close to the Fort Idaho Center. So he gets to see all the fireworks displays, and when the bands come, he can hear them.
That's convenient. It's free.
Actually, he loves it.
I can imagine.
But not
yeah.
everybody would. Not me. I'd be out there shaking my pitchfork. So we do have over on the next page in your booklet the criteria. These are things just to kind of stimulate your thinking process, kind of go through those, talk these over. It's not just you, it's the family. Well, if you bring in your family with you, maybe you're just going to move and not tell them. I hadn't thought about that in time, but so use those, and also check off the ones that you want to talk with us about as well, because we want to be your sounding board. We're going to keep asking you questions so you kind of get a little bit more firm idea of what exactly you're looking for, so you don't have to look at 80 houses. So if there's a situation where someone has to sell a property before they buy, how does that work out? Does that just like leave them out of the water until they get their house sold and then they come up here and have to rent? Or
No, I would say absolutely not. All sides have to work together. The agent selling the house, wherever it is, and then us here, and we can make it a smooth transition. So as soon as you made that decision that you wanted to move, I think that's when we're going to start.
And the sooner the better.
And the sooner the better.
Nice. Same thing that we said about talking with your lender. The sooner the better.
Yeah. Don't wait. Don't just come here and hope to find the right place.
Right.
You might feel a little bit pressured. I would say just start very early, the whole process. We show properties to people that are saying we're not going to move until in 2 years, but it gives them a better idea what to expect.
Exactly.
And what to look forward to.
Right. And because there's some people that have this idea that we don't even have electricity up here. And then they come up and they see, a regular standard home, like a CBH or a Hubble. And because we are a little bit further north, we have like very thick walls. So it has lots of insulation, and they're very high quality homes.
Yeah, and we do have ACs, yes.
Oh my gosh.
I heard Oregon. Everybody from Oregon is asking, do you guys have central air? Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Everybody.
It gets hot for like, I think on average, we have 2 weeks a year that we're in triple digits for the heat. On average. There's going to be some weird years. This year was fabulous.
It was fantastic. Wonderful summer.
And then I have my personal story in there. You guys could take a look at that. And just know that we did go through that process of looking at 80 some houses, and gosh darn it, our agent was such the nicest guy, but we took up more of his time. And so I had retired and came up here, so we had nothing but time, and we enjoyed talking with him, but I know we wasted so much of his time. So if he would have asked those questions ahead of time,
yeah,
We could have saved him some time.
I think one of the first questions I usually ask is, have you thought about new construction? And then whatever that is, the biggest difference on new construction and an existing house is if you buy new construction, you don't have to worry for at least 10 years. But you don't have mature landscape, most likely. You will not. And you might still have some noise around you for a few more years. And I think that is one point to determine, okay, where should we look?
Right.
And that's a big one.
It's a good point. Before I moved up here, when I was still living in that little ratty house there, it was a new house was just like a concept I didn't even have, because it's like, wow, new house, that's got to be way expensive. But oftentimes, I think new construction is running about, existing homes are about 98% of what a new construction cost. So they're almost the exact same price. And you know what? It just shocked me when I found out when you buy a new house, the roof is new, the HVAC is new,
Yeah.
the flooring's new.
Yep. Cabinets are new.
I had no
Everything.
idea.
Paint, carpet, everything.
So what's your agent going to be doing? So you're out looking at homes. Maybe, you're not ready to bother an agent yet. Well, bother us. I mean, that's what we're here for. We're going to give you advice.
Yes.
But also, you want to go out and check out those neighborhoods at different times of day and things like that. So while they're doing those kind of things, what kind of stuff are we doing behind the scenes?
I think right now there's we're looking for somebody for a property, and it looks very good. Everything looks good on the paper, but then it's like, what's the surrounding area gonna look like in the next couple of years?
Right.
So I think that's a big part too. Is just making sure, especially if you buy a little bit outside, countryside, now on acreage, what's going in, because right across the street there's going to be coming in more houses, things like that. So we're trying to really make sure we cover all.
It's sort of
all
like
areas.
Between Nampa and Meridian, they're extending the highway from Star down to the freeway, and there's like where people used to live out in the country. Now they're going to have a big 4-6 lane freeway right there.
And we looked at property before they started construction for somebody, and we was wondering, I said, wow, that is a really wonderful price.
Now
Now they have the perfect view on that new
Right.
stretch of street.
And when you're living in a regular subdivision that's already been plotted and platted and all that, that's one thing. But if you are in that country property, there's different things like easements or shared driveway agreements that we'll be checking out.
Absolutely. And of course, we're gonna go out and go house hunting for you. If there is a property where we feel like this could match your criteria, then you will get a video of that just to find out, okay, is that what you're looking for? Would the kitchen work for you? Does the size of the house work? How about the lot? When you step out in your backyard, is that enough space? Things like that.
And you don't have to be someone in California or Oregon or Washington. It's like if you're up here, but you've got one of those hectic schedules and you want to see what this particular house is like, we go out and we will do that same video tour for you, even though you're not here, just because it's more convenient for you. And like I say, it's not to get you to buy that particular house, but to find a reason why you don't want to buy it.
Exactly. I think you don't want to have the regret, oh, I should have seen it. We just had that situation where somebody got sick and was unable to see the house. They were here for their fact-finding trip. Got sick, couldn't see that house, and so we shot a video, and it's all good.
Nice.
We were fine. We're gonna let that go, and we feel good about it.
Which is the whole point is, it's like, let's find a reason not to move forward with that house. So when you are out looking at a house, we're going to get all in the car, we're going to meet you out there, whatever it is. I've got this great little checklist that you can print off as many copies if you need. We got a clipboard they can borrow if they don't have one of their own. And as you're going through the house, mark these these things. How did it impress you? Was it good, bad, or does it great? Any other little comments? And because I got to tell you, after you've seen 40, 60, 80 houses, they all start to blend in. So yeah, it's like, and I do like this question at the bottom of each house. So it's like, for this house, what do I want to do? Do I want to come back and look at it again? You know, sleep on it and then come back? Do I just need more information? Am I ready to like put in an offer? Or is it like, yeah, maybe it's kind of ish? Or it's like, nope, let's just take it off the list. So it's like when you come back, you don't have to go through 40 houses that we saw. Oh no, what was good? You can just go through those ones that you said, yeah, I want to check out this further. And it's just like, it helps you out so much. Helps us out too, huh?
Yeah. I don't think we even get to 40 houses before we find the right one.
What do you suppose the most houses we've ever shown anybody is?
The most houses.
Could it be Jack? Because Jack was particular because he wanted us to check the toilets. It needed to be strong enough to pull your arm off. And there's not that many houses, but they don't put that in the information that you find online. You know, will this toilet take your arm off? No, you have to go out to each house and take a look.
I would say on average, it's about 20. 20 is, that would be, looking for a lot. Yeah.
Okay. So if we get up to 20, you guys are doing fine because you're just like normal. So those are some of the things to consider when you're looking for your next home. What's next in the process? Well, it's going to be the process. And there's a space on here. If you have any questions that come to mind that you want to make sure you don't forget to ask us, go ahead and jot those down. And we're going to go ahead and get the process figured out so you can come in and watch that on episode 5, or is it segment 5, or sorry, back in TV land or something there. But Maureen, thank you so much for coming by today and going through our things to consider about your next home. Was there any last little things that I forgot to ask you?
No, I think it's just shoot questions out. Give us a question. Yeah.
Communication. Oh my gosh, that is such a big thing.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, yeah, I'm sorry.
No, if you see a house online where you think this would be the perfect house, that's the one I would like to see.
Nice. And if you're not here, let us know because
exactly,
we'll go do a video.
Yeah.
Love it.
And if it's just for me to, or for you, for Dave, or for us to see, what are you looking for? What do you think at this moment you actually need, or what is perfect for you? And then we will find another one.
I like it. All right, thanks guys. We'll see you on the next one. Wow, there's an incredible amount of things to consider about your next home. And just as incredible is finding out what a buyer consultation is all about. Just click below and find out, or if you need to sell as well, click below and a real live human will research and tell you what your home is worth. Now let's get down to the home stretch and find out about the process from home search to closing. Hey everybody, thanks for stopping in for episode number 5, the process from home search to closing. This one is really good, and this is where your whole team comes together to make the whole process work. There, I use the word process again. But your goal is to get to the finish line, get you into that house. Well, that's one of your goals. Your ultimate goal is just to have a beautiful life after that. But we'll talk about that once we get to episode 6. But for now, episode 5, the process.
Yeah, that's when you enter the roller coaster, the emotional roller coaster.
Oh my.
But we're here to support you, hold hands.
Have you ever
on
had
that roller coaster?
To hug somebody or let them cry on your shoulder?
Many times, and we have all been there, and it's totally normal. It is a stressful part of life, but we're here to make it as easy and smooth as possible.
And once we've got closed, those people that were so stressed out,
it all goes away. It all goes away.
Oh, and then they get to enjoy their house. So many balls in the air. So I was thinking of a juggler when I was putting that one in there. But there are a lot of moving parts with this process.
Yes, yes. And having a good team and all working hand in hand, I think it's extremely important. I would add one more in case you're selling in a different state. That person needs to be on here too. This is a big part. We all need to work as a team together.
True.
Yeah.
So why is that important? It's like, well, everybody that's on our little list there, from your lender, the TC, that's the transaction coordinator. That's a lady that we've hired to handle all the paperwork and make sure all the timelines are met. The home inspector, and then the agent that's helping you sell your house. We all need to have this communication going. So things do happen. It's how we respond to them that determines whether they're going to have a successful outcome or not. So the home search, I think this is probably one of the first things, is that, especially if someone's not here, but even if they are, we set them up a home search on the Collab Center.
Yes.
And then what happens from there?
What happens from there is we hope that everybody uses that Collab Center and puts little hearts on it and question marks and dumps some that are absolutely no options. That helps us to narrow down what we are looking for, and then we're going to start looking for houses. We're going to go out, we can take videos, neighborhoods, homes. We're going to be very critical about homes. Yeah.
Very true. And so that Collab Center, that's a search engine that's tied directly to our MLS, so it has the most up-to-date, accurate data possible. And we have seen instances where Zillow is way out of date. People will send me a Zillow link and say, wow, I'd like to go see this house. And I go, wow, somebody bought it 3 months ago.
Yeah, yeah. And builders like to put their, I call it dang, now I don't know how I call it anymore.
Oh, yeah?
Wheel. It's
Okay.
like throwing wheel.
They're just kind of like throwing it out there.
Throwing it out there, and it's like, no, it's not really 100% correct information.
Right.
Yeah. So that's where I think we come in, and that website, what we set up, is the way to go.
And so it's like, if you're still a year out, we'll set up this to give you an email once a day or once a week, so you're not bombarded. But if you're like in that zone, we could set that so you'll get a notification as soon as a house that matches your criteria comes on the market. I mean, immediately you'll get an email alert. So it depends on where you are in the process. Back to the process. So what does the Treasure Valley Dave team do for me? Wow, lots of stuff. We obviously set up that search for you. We also bring to you so many people that are going to be part of your team that gets us to the finish line. And also we have that big shoulder for him to cry on.
Exactly.
Oh,
That's my favorite.
that is kind of fun. If I'm relocating from out of the area, we've got a little special segment there for some extra things that will be taking place. Some of the things like working with your agent that's selling your home, also being your eyes and ears here when it comes to your and nose. When your home inspection, that's a huge one. And I think we're going to talk about more of that in just a little bit when we talk about due diligence. But also when it gets time to almost to the close, there's like the final walkthrough, or if you're buying a new construction, it's the NHO, the new homeowner orientation. And we have some people that can't make it. Mm-hmm. We've had some people where half the family could come and the other half couldn't, and we'll still go out there and we'll videotape it so you can refer back to it, or the person that wasn't there can refer back to it. So we've looked at some houses, and it's like, okay, that house, he says it works great, probably because it has a big shop. I don't know. It's been done. So do you want to pass or play? Well, I don't know. The house is too close to the mother-in-law, too pricey. The pool's too small. It's not going to work for us. So, yep, if the house isn't going to work for you, let's put it aside. Let's move on to the next one. Because there's even though we have low inventory, you still have a pretty wide range of houses to look at. So now you found the right home. What do they need to do?
Now, since we have all the steps done before,
Right.
we have our lender, if we do need a mortgage, everything is already set. We're gonna make an offer.
We'll have to make a decision.
We have to make, I thought we were already playing.
Oh, well, so you have to be ready to make that decision. It's like,
That's right.
you know, I used to sell cars, and people would just come out on the weekend and just literally kick tires. They just want to see what's out there. So it's
That's
like,
what open houses are for.
that's true. So yeah, open house tire kicking event. But we're in the zone. We're looking for your house. And what sometimes happens when you find the perfect house?
Somebody else thinks that's the perfect house too.
Exactly.
The chance is very high.
So even though it has like 20, 30, 40 days on market number, let's not horse around. Let's get our offer in.
Yeah, at least have the conversation started. That is communication. I think it's one of the biggest, and it's not just the communication between the agent and the buyers or the sellers. It's agent to agent. I think is a very, very big point.
You know, I believe that we've had some difficult transactions where that communication between us and the listing agent has kept it together.
Yes, absolutely.
And we've had other ones where there was no communication there. We usually keep it together, but it's just the most pain in the bottom kind of a transaction. It's like, oh, I guess I have to go buy a new TV now. Oh, you asked me about that, I'll tell you. Prepare for competition. Like we were just saying, as soon as you fall in love with a house, somebody else will as well. And bid competitively. What happens if we do a low ball offer?
If it's really a low ball offer, we might just get rejected if there's no communication. And
you know, conversely, let's say we put an offer in at what the house should be valued at, but the seller is one of those sellers. They're doing, I don't know, do they call it like a high ball selling price? That won't work either.
we have that situation, yeah.
Yeah.
We come in this is the value, and sometimes it's just presenting the seller with, okay, this is why we are making this offer.
Right.
So we provide all that information for the seller to make the right decision.
Yep. And I think oftentimes that when we provide that information to the listing agent, it's very helpful. Did you know that 85% of the agents get out of the business after a couple of years?
I heard that, yeah.
So a huge percentage of the agents out there, well, most of them only do like 1 or 2 deals a year, and they don't have a lot of experience. So us kind of guiding them through it. And, you know, we're not all about ourselves. If we can help somebody else that needs some education on something, you know, we're right there to do it.
Yeah, and it could also be that the agent recommended a different price, but yeah, the seller would like to see. Make me move. I think that's how it's called on Zillow, make me move.
Nice. Don't negotiate yourself out of a house.
Oh, we just had it.
Tell me.
We just had that a seller, they were very, very stubborn, and they made it very, very complicated, and we were at counter 6. And at that point, we were like, okay, it's just done. It got bitter, it got frustrating for all parties, I think. It was just nitpicking on things, and from that point on, it would have just gotten too complicated. So we passed, moved on.
And, you know, if you don't fall in love with a house and then just, you know, it's like, I have to have that house or I'm going to die. There's going to be another house. And when I've seen this, usually the next house that someone goes to, they just love it all the more, and they never even think of the first one.
That's right. There's always a reason.
Exactly. It was meant to be.
It was meant to be, exactly.
So what does this mean, keep contingencies to a minimum?
So if let's say you need to sell your house, please have your house. It's better that your house is already on the market, or that you're just in a snap ready to put it on the market. So have your realtor on that side already in place if it's not us here. Have that in place, have your pictures taken, have your lender ready, that you don't need to go through that process, because that's also part of a contingency that you have to get pre-qualified if you're doing this with a loan. The further you're in the process, if you need to sell the property, the better it is after inspection, after appraisal. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. What are some other contingencies? So you talked about getting pre-approved with a lender and having a house to sell. Those are probably the biggies.
And then, right after that, it's the inspection.
The inspection, right?
The inspection. And that's a big one, and that's something to protect the buyer. You want to protect your investment. So you want to make sure that you're really buying a solid home, nothing that's going to be falling apart as soon as you move in.
That's true. So we're going to talk about contingencies in a little bit when we talk about the stuff we put into an offer. But yeah, those are the big ones. And they're, like Maureen said, the one for your inspection is a huge one to protect you. So we're going to put in the offer. All right, Maureen, this is the house I want. Let's put in an offer. What do I need?
What are the terms? How soon? Of course.
So it's not just price.
It's not just the offer price. Yes, of course, we got to start somewhere. That's where we're gonna do the CMA, and you're gonna be the one who's gonna make a decision to, okay, this is the price I feel comfortable spending for this house, or that is it what it's worth? And then what are the terms? How soon can we close? I think that is a very big one. Maybe the seller needs a little bit more time. Communication, very big part. It could be that the seller would like to close in 30 days but need to stay 14 more days to give them extra time to move out, to get the stuff out of the shop. And
it makes sense. And if it works for you, the buyer, that it's like, I mean, you're already paying, maybe you're in a rental or something and you're already in it for another couple months. Let the seller have that extra 2 weeks. That way they'll pick your offer over somebody else's.
That's right. Yeah.
That means so much. I mean, it's not just money. So I'm the buyer. We've got earnest money to put down. So what is that and what does it mean?
So the earnest money is something, it doesn't go to the seller. Let's start off with that. It goes in an escrow account. So nobody has that at that point. It shows that you are able and willing to purchase this property. And it's typically about 1% of the purchase
1%.
amount.
Okay. I just heard from somebody else it's always $2,000.
I heard that too, but...
Do you suppose he does more than 2 deals a year? I'm not sure.
No, it could be. I mean, we had, now for new construction, it can be anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000, or if you're going higher, it could be even more than that.
Right.
Yeah, it's part of good communication.
And that's so important. I had one where we had a vet moving into a house who didn't have money to put down, because she needed it for moving expenses. So we went in with 0 earnest money. And the agent calls me up and goes, is this a typo? And then we communicated. We said, no, we're very much wanting to move forward with this. Our person just doesn't have the money because they were selling their current house and they hadn't closed yet. So after we had that communication and that talk, the agent goes, okay, yeah, I can tell my seller that. And then everything worked out, and now she moved in, and everything hunky-dory.
Yeah, good communication. It's all coming back to that.
Right. So contingencies. Let's talk about an inspection contingency a little bit. So I'm buying a used house. The inspector goes out, and he finds some stuff wrong. So does that mean I can the buyer can ask the seller to get everything fixed so the house is in a new condition, or?
You could. I'm not sure if I would recommend that, because you will see, I mean, the inspections report that you're getting, and we have, by the way, a wonderful inspector, they're very detailed. You will see a lot of things. It's like tiny, it's caulking, everything is on there. And for an existing home, if it's 20 years old, you will always find something. Everything that is hazard, that of course I think we should always ask to have that repaired.
There's always a GFCI outlet.
Exactly. There's always one. And this is an easy fix. And some homeowners do it themselves. Some need to bring in an electrician for that. But that is something, yes, it always has to be repaired.
But if you're a buyer and you want a perfect house that's in brand new condition, what should they do?
Maybe thinking about purchasing a brand new house.
There you go. That makes sense.
There's warranties. There's home warranties that come with new construction. So
that's true too. Yeah.
And then of course there is the home warranty
that you could get for a new or existing.
For
home.
a new or an existing home. Yeah. And it's a fairly good price. I mean, anywhere starting from $400,
right?
Depending on the size of the house and what do you all want to cover.
And just because this has happened, there is a difference between a home warranty and homeowner's insurance.
Yes.
So home warranty is something that you buy to cover the different systems in your house, appliances and things like that. So if something happens, you pay a small deductible, the repairman comes out and does his stuff. Home insurance is when your house burns down or somebody trips on your sidewalk, then you have that protection.
Good point.
Wow.
Yes. Other inspections, because we have that to septic system, water, you want to check your well, how good is the pump, productivity test.
Very true.
Yeah, that's also a big part. Yeah, and then it's either you asked the seller to make some repairs, or you could negotiate a credit. If you find out that the foundation is terrible, maybe it's time to walk away.
Right.
And to terminate.
Get your earnest money back.
And get your earnest money back.
Right.
Yes.
So congratulations, your offer is accepted. And then this is when all these things start happening right away. So the things that concern you, well, I mean, everything concerns you, but the things that you're going to be participating in is our TC lady. She's the one that handles all the paperwork. She's going to be reaching out to you to give you instructions on how to get your earnest money over to the title company. In Idaho, we use a title/closing company. They do both of those things. The TC is going to be getting with you, providing you different information, also coordinating with the lender to make sure the lender has everything that they need. And then as the process goes on, the title company is going to be getting back with you eventually. I mean, it's going to go through the TC, could come through us. The lender's going to be involved. Also, we'll get the home inspection scheduled and we'll be out there. One thing, speaking of home inspections, whether you're in the area or not, what we like to do is, well, I'll let you tell it, how much fun we have doing it.
So I know if we're trying to do whatever if you would be here in town, what would you do as a buyer? And if your home inspector, this is somebody you hire, now you're paying for the home inspection, you would probably want to have a one-on-one conversation with that person to see, okay, am I buying a good house? Is it gonna fall apart or not? So since if you're not here, we go out, we're gonna have that conversation, take a video of that conversation, send it to you before you even get the report, just as a peace of mind. It can take up to 48 hours to get the very, very detailed, I don't know how many pages, report back. And this is part of the roller coaster. It could be stressful 48 hours knowing, okay, are we gonna move forward with this house, or are we gonna find a big hole in the roof?
And I find that this big scary report, it can say something, and it's like, oh, you'll wig out. But you've seen the inspector talk about that on the video, and it's like, oh, this is a very minor thing, but he still puts it in the report. But your mind can go like all sorts of directions without the context.
Yeah,
that's why it's so important to have that video.
And pictures, even if there's a small crack somewhere, the picture is like this big, and the crack is tiny.
Exactly right.
Easy to fix.
And then we get closer to closing. We have that 3-day walkthrough. We have the NHO, the same thing that we were talking about earlier. We can do the videos for you, but we help you get all that coordinated, whether you're here in person or virtually. And then we close, and that means we don't close when you sign the paperwork. And if you're not here, or even if you are here, let's say you're busy working, we can help the title company set up a mobile notary to come out to where you are to get all the paperwork signed. But you're still not closed at that point. And you're still not closed when the lender sends the money over to the title company. When are we closed?
When are we closed? When we finally get the call. And the call means that it was funded and recorded.
Recorded where?
Recorded. It's recorded at the county.
Very true.
That's the most important part. So that means that your name is right there where it needs to be.
And then once it's recorded, you can get the keys.
That's when you get the keys. And in between, there is so much more that will happen. Now back to the team, we have a moving company we highly recommend, and we're trying to help you to navigate through that process, when to start what, when to switch over your utilities. Yeah. When you mentioned the notary, I remember the people that come in was their birds and the car broke down the mobile notary had to come to a different end.
Oh my gosh.
That was something. But we recorded in time.
Yeah.
As planned.
The last business day before Christmas.
Yes.
And it was at 4:55 we got the call.
And
they
at
closed at
5 o'clock, that's it. That would have been. But yes, we make it work, and the whole team worked really, really hard on it.
And I remember that because at that evening, it was like 5:30. I went out to the church where the listing agent was with his family at some church program that his little kid was in, and he had the key. So I had to go out there and get the key from him so I could present to our people. It was a Christmas miracle.
It was a Christmas miracle, yes.
So after the closing, though, it's like this big, huge relief, but then sometimes the feeling of, did I make a mistake creeps in? Not us, because it's just something we do. But for the buyer, it's like, this is such a big deal, emotional roller coaster, now it's stopped. It's like, oh my gosh, did I do something wrong? Is this the right house for me? Have you ever had anybody do that?
A regret?
Yeah.
Or a second? No, I don't think so.
I wonder if that's because we're with them throughout the entire process and talking things out.
Yeah. I think we address most of the things ahead of time before it actually happens. So you're prepared, so it's not a surprise. Yeah, we had one client who searched for 2 years every day. It was part of his daily routine to search and find homes and go on different builders' websites, and closed on a house. And I was like, what are you going to do with all your free time now? So, yeah, but I don't think there's any regrets. We prepare, I think, very well. For everything that the roller coaster goes smooth.
So Maureen, we've gone through a lot of the process here, and we're going to be talking about what happens next, but did we miss anything? Is there anything else that we should address before we move on?
I think the only thing is be prepared that we're going to keep bugging you. You became a friend during that process.
Right.
I think that's a big appointment. And then, of course, we're going to remind you on a couple of other things you still need to do, like registering your appliance if you have new construction, filing for homeowners exemption, things like that. And then you get check-ins.
Well, that leads us very nicely into our last segment number 6. I'm a homeowner, now what? So, like Maureen said, you're part of the Treasure Valley Dave team family. We're going to be your resource. If you need a handyman for something, a roofer, a great mechanic, a good place to go eat, we're here for you. Also, we have other people. We've got this kind of like little community of people that really enjoy the house that they're in, enjoy being in Idaho, and want to help others. So,
Yeah.
and that's on our Facebook group. Also, we have our annual picnic.
I know, I'm very excited. And the annual picnic is where we kind of trying to help connect people where we know, oh, they
Right.
have the same interest. So yeah.
That's great. So you guys don't want to miss out on that when we get to number 6. Well, Maureen, thanks for stopping in. Obviously, people can see that you know your stuff, and that they can rest assured that when you're working with them, that they'll be well taken care of.
It's fun. I love doing it. I enjoy it. So it's easy.
Excellent. Well, guys, we'll see you on number 6. See ya. It's not a stretch to say that there's a lot of moving parts in the transaction process. And I'm not stretching the truth when I say that you can find out what a home buyer consultation is all about by clicking below. Or if you need to sell as well, click below and have a real live human research and tell you what your home is worth. Now let's wind down our discussion with, I'm a homeowner, now what? Wow, we made it. Module 6. I'm a homeowner, now what? Well, this one's going to be a little fun. It's you've been through a lot. You've been through the whole process. Been through some ups, some downs, some stresses, and now you're a homeowner. Congratulations. If you haven't got this booklet, make sure you go ahead and download it. This is going to be the last one, and doesn't mean you can't go back and look at all of them again, because there's some really powerful information in these. So now you're a homeowner. The plan came together. Yahoo! Nice. So what are some things that you're going to want to do right away? Well, one, you want to go file for your homeowner's exemption. In Idaho, if you're the homeowner living in the home, you get an exemption, which knocks a big whopping amount off of your property tax bill. So you have some time to do that, but don't put it off and then forget about it. And oh my gosh, I forgot. Also update your mailing address. And this could be with, your magazines and stuff, but also with different government places like the DMV, Social Security. Get your voter registration done, which I believe you can go ahead and do that at the post office website too. Oh, look, I believe there's a link there. So that could be helpful. Then also get to know your neighborhood. Get to know your community, your neighbors, and oftentimes there'll be community little gatherings, little barbecues, picnics and stuff. And if there aren't, then step up and do one of those. Put those together. The people here in Idaho are just the nicest people. And it's funny, it's like so many of them came from someplace else. Like you wouldn't necessarily assume that California was a friendly place, but there's so many friendly people there. Guess what? Those are the ones that moved to Idaho. So you want to get to know those people, whether you lived in California or not, just because they're great people. So another big thing is protect your investment. So what does that mean? Well, take care of your house. Do your regular routine maintenance. I think we've all heard the things that we're supposed to do, and maybe we do them, and maybe we don't. So change your furnace filters, keep things away from your air conditioner unit, keep your gutters cleared out. So maybe do that in the fall, and just some other things. But when it does come to those kind of things, if you need help doing that, we have all sorts of resources for you, whether it's our handyman, whether it's our roofer. We have a great gutter guy as well. So don't let something slip too long just because you don't have the time or the skills to do it or the tools to do it. Although, mind you, there was a time when having a project would be just a great excuse to go buy a new tool. So I can understand that too. So keep an eye on things too. As you're doing stuff in your house, keep an eye out on, for instance, just yesterday I noticed the sprinkler was had water coming up on the siding of my house. It's like, that's not right. So I just went out there, made a little adjustment, and now it's not. But it's just, if that had gone on, especially for like years and years, it could end up being a pretty costly repair. So what else? The ground as it comes up to the foundation of your house, make sure that's sloping away, and that'll help the water slope away and keep water from having a better chance of penetrating into your foundation and into your crawl space. So it's just little things like that. Just kind of be aware. Receipts and repairs for improvements. You might want to keep those, especially if, I don't know, if you can't remember when the last time it was that you had something repaired. Well, if you have the receipts in your little file, then you will. Also, if it comes time to sell your house, some of those might be, have some kind of a tax implication, meaning a good thing for you. So, keep those. Enjoy service for a lifetime. Well, that's what you get with the Treasure Valley Dave team. Like I say, we have all sorts of people in our toolbox that we can refer out to you for, your furnace, your roof, your landscaping, whatever it is. We've probably got somebody. And also, we have our community where our past clients and people that will one day be our past clients, we all gather. We have a close Facebook group, Idahoans at Heart. You're more than welcome. You're more than welcome to go join that right now and just start talking with people. But I was going to say, if you have a great experience with somebody that did something for you, a handyman, something around the house, or a great restaurant, share that. And then we can use that to share with other people when they reach out and say, hey, who do you know that can do this? Now we got a guy. And also we have our great client appreciation picnic. We have that every year. And it's just a great time to come out and get to know other people just like you, people that are great people. And they're just, I don't know, I just have such a great time every time I go out there. I almost started crying last time. Tim gave me this present. It's like so completely unexpected and it meant so much to me. It's like, wow, thank you, Tim. And even more service for a lifetime. So as time goes on, things in your life might change, or you just might want to know, say, what's going on with the value of your house. Maybe you're thinking that you need a home equity line of credit. Maybe you're going to add a new garage bay. That would be nice, something like that. And you just want to know what it is. We put together a great home value report just for your house to give you an idea of what kind of equity you've got in your house. Also, at some point, you may be interested in investment property. And that could be taking your current home because your family got bigger or got smaller and now you need to get in a different size home. Use your current home as a rental. It's possible. We've got people in our toolbox that are professional property managers that can go through the pros and cons with you on what it's like to turn your house into a rental. Or maybe you're got transferred to another state for your job. Keeping your house here as a rental might be a good thing. But anyway, like I said, we've got people that can answer your questions and help you make a plan on that. And also, when somebody that you run across, friend, family member, someone at church or work that says, I'm thinking about doing something with real estate, maybe selling my house or buying, or I've got a friend that's moving in from out of state. I want you to be able to think of us top of mind. It says, obviously you need to talk with Treasure Valley Dave and his great team because they got their stuff all in one sock. Can I say that? I guess I just did. So that's it for Module 6. It was a nice, short, and sweet one. So now what's next? Well, we're going to be checking in with you every once in a while. Anything comes up, don't wait for us to check in. You just give us a call or a text or an email or whatever and let us know what's going on. But we're going to be checking in. We're going to invite you out to our picnic. And we're just looking forward to having you have many, many happy years, many safe years, many productive years, make some great memories in your new house. Wow. Well, thank you so much. You guys have made my day. And any more questions, please give us a call, text, email. We're here for you. You're part of the family now. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this webinar. I'm sure you got something out of it, and I hope you got everything that you needed. Remember what our goal was for you to be clear on what you know and what it is that you don't know so we can figure out how to get you that information. We've gone through a lot of steps here today
from deciding if you really need to buy, if you really need to move, all the way through finding your agent, the financial aspects of it, what to expect when you start doing your home search, what is it that you're looking for, and then the process once you find your home and we get an accepted offer. And then after closing, now you're a homeowner. Now what? Well, now you know what, because we've gone over that. And if you have any questions, obviously you're going to give us a call, because now you're part of the Treasure Valley Dave team family. And just like family, we want to help you, have a better life. That's what your family wants, right? That's what mine wants. So thank you so much for stopping by. And please feel free to share this webinar with anybody else that needs to see it. And give us a call, text, email, whatever it takes. Reach out, ask your questions. We're here to help. And have a great day. Thank you so much. Congratulations! We've made it to the end of this very informative buyer's webinar where we've covered many, many things, some of which had to be kind of broad in scope because each situation is somewhat different. To fill in those specific details, the next step is for you to click below and find out what a buyer consultation is all about. And then, of course, let's meet and then have that buyer consultation. If selling a home could be part of your plans, well, click below and we, real-life humans, will research and tell you what your home is worth, a key piece of information that you need as you move forward. So take action, click below, and let's get moving toward your goal.